Hello and welcome to a very special video edition of the Nerd of Godcast, Nerd of God Squad. It's me, Tony T, and we're going to be having a great time tonight talking about video games and having an awesome time. But I'm not going to be doing it by myself. I have some very special guests that are going to be joining the conversation with us. If you want to be a part of what we're talking about, you can follow us across all the social medias at Nerd of Godcast, or you can jump on our Facebook small group. That's the Nerd of God Squad. Send us a request and we're going to let you into the party. We're a pretty indiscriminate group. Nerd of God Squad on Facebook. Share some memes and live your dreams. So let's, without further ado, invite our guests this evening into the conversation. Join us, won't you? Hello, and welcome. We're going to be having a conversation tonight with two of my very favorite people, parts of our Nerd of God Squad family. In fact, deeper than that, they're who I consider to be part of my family. This is the lovely Tori Lein Jones, and the guy who puts the Jones in Tori Lein Jones, Benjamin Jones. What's up, friends?
Hello.
All the way from the beautiful Garden State of New Jersey. How's things going up there? It's fall right now for you, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it was yesterday, and then we got some, I guess, 2 days ago, and then some of the haze from the West Coast came over here.
All you left coast people.
How dare.
I had a guy I worked with, and he was some smart guy. I'm also a smart guy at work. I handle analytics stuff, but this guy was even smarter than I was, and he was from California, and he constantly would wear a shirt that said left coast.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So that was the first time I'd heard that term, and this is now the second unique time I've heard that said.
So can we wear shirts that say right coast, and then in small text says also the correct coast, or is that going too far?
I think you can. You're not close enough to the coast to get away with it, though. You're definitely in farm country over there, so.
True.
Fair.
I mean, you're an hour away from Atlantic City.
Yeah.
No, that's not too bad. You're just as coastal as I am here in Central Florida. Well, awesome. Well, now that we have gotten geography and the weather out of the way, tell us, for those of you guys that are listening that are just meeting you guys for the first time or watching at home, give us a little bit of your nerd cred. Tori, you are an artist and with a lean towards video games, right?
Yeah, for sure. It definitely, video games is what made me want to draw, and then drawing makes me want to play more video games, so it's an Ouroboros of visual stuff.
It's a vicious cycle. Yeah.
It is. So I try to, my art leans towards places I would like to play in, or like escape to. So yeah, generally on the fantasy side of things, for sure.
And you went to school to be actually properly trained for what? Video game design, video game art?
I wish. No, I went to school for graphic design.
Oh, okay.
Terrible. I wish I had gone for the other one, but that's okay. He went to school for video game design.
I did.
Well, we haven't gotten to him yet, but I guess that's as good of a pass-off as there could possibly be. Benjamin, you went to school for video game design, if I'm not mistaken, if my research...
Yeah. So speaking of segues, I have a bachelor's in game design, and it was actually, I grew up playing... I had a Super Nintendo controller in my hands from when I was born.
Wow.
And I have been playing Nintendo games and a bunch of other games as well ever since. I have a special fondness for RPGs. I'm a storyteller at heart. I went to college to get a degree in game design, not because of any one game. It was actually because of an episode of Community. It was the one where Pierce had to play a video game for his inheritance. It was that.
Is it really?
I'm not kidding. That's why.
Wow.
And it was.
That's pretty incredible.
I was watching it with my dad, and I had always loved the idea of making my own indie game, making my own video games. Which, for the record, I'm going to disappoint any listener. I don't actually have any games made, so don't look for them
Yet.
Yet. Hopefully.
But when you do, in the credits, it's not gonna. It's where it thanks all the people and then says, and you have to say, and Pierce Hawthorne of Hawthorne Wipes.
Right, exactly.
But I was watching this episode with my dad.
Streets Ahead Video Gaming. That's what that's the name of your company. I'm sorry. So you were watching. Excuse me as I hostage take your conversation.
No, it's fine. We're just we're shooting the breeze here. So.
Shooting the breeze.
So I was watching the show, and I had always liked the idea of being a game designer, but I never thought that surely I would be able to do anything like that. I thought, well, I have to go get a job as like, I don't know, a doctor or a lawyer, or I'm pretty sure those are the
Those are the only
Hold on.
jobs.
Those are the options.
Lawyer either.
Oh, okay.
For the record, I don't think I could be those things either. But like, those normal jobs.
Right.
I didn't
Your
even let
average job.
my family get to the point to say, no, you have to have a real job.
Oh, okay.
I did that for them. So I'm like, no, I have to go get a real job. And so I mused to my dad, I think it'd be cool to make video games like that. My dad said, yeah, why not? Go for it. I'm like, are you serious? He goes, yeah, why not? Go for it. So now I have a degree in game design.
That's
And
awesome.
that means I'm uniquely qualified to be really pretentious about lots of video games.
Yes, you are more than just the casual armchair quarterback.
Any opportunity that comes his way to exercise his knowledge, none of them are missed. He misses 0% of those opportunities to flex those muscles. So
That's why I don't go to restaurants with people who went to culinary school. It's just a daunting experience. But here we are tonight. We're going to talk about video games, so get ready to flex, Ben. This is your time to shine, my friend. No, so let's just kind of set the stage a little bit. What is the first video game born with a Super Nintendo controller in your hand? What is the first video game you remember playing and being captivated by?
Oh, easy. It's between Super Mario World and Link to the Past. The 100%, without a doubt, I was born playing those games. That was the controller that was connected to it. It was Mario World and Link to the Past in equal parts.
Okay.
Mario World had captivated me with its colors and its fast pace, and it really meant what fun was to me. Whereas Link to the Past was imagination and storytelling. Even though there wasn't a lot of story in Link to the Past, it was, a little mind could explore and wonder and wander. And so it was those two games. Those were the first ones.
Very nice. What about you, Tori? First video game you remember playing and being captivated by?
Probably Where in the USA is Carmen Sandiego. I'm not even kidding.
That's a valid answer. Don't be shamed right now.
I think because my dad, he grew up playing, like he was a PC gamer back when I guess that was all there was. So when he was, when we were kids, that's what we had.
Yeah.
And then he discovered the N64 sometime in the mid to late 90s, and he brought home Mario Kart. And I guess Mario 64. So I played a lot of that. And it was
Nice.
like the first one though that like captivated me. Probably Pokemon.
Yeah?
For the Game Boy.
Nice.
Whichever one was that one, red and blue. I don't know. I was barely cognizant of what I was playing. I just knew it had Pikachu in it, which is all I cared about.
They just
So-
put this in the child's hand and this will
Exactly.
entertain her.
Exactly.
I didn't know what it was, but I knew I liked it.
Exactly. Very much so. And then
Yeah.
kids at my dad's youth group, they had an N64 and they let him borrow it because he borrowed it for wrestling.
I bought a Nintendo 64 for wrestling. That was the game to have.
All youth pastors everywhere, it's a universal constant. Y'all like wrestling a whole lot.
There's a
So
weird.
like,
I gotta be honest. There's a huge Venn diagram, but with wrestling Nintendo fans, I don't
and
know what it
also
is
youth
about.
pastors.
Yeah, of course, but like,
Anyway,
There's so
I'll
many
tell you why. Youth pastors, they have a bent towards theatricality.
sure.
They enjoy sort of conflict and challenge.
Okay.
There's a lot of pent-up aggression in a youth pastor. And also, they don't believe in games that don't have predetermined endings. That's sort of the cross-section of why youth pastors really feel akin to pro wrestlers.
That's delightful. But in this weird.
Wait, I just noticed something. Are you wearing half a pair of glasses?
No. Yes. I am.
It's like a monocle that was afraid to commit.
it's a quirk. It's a fashion statement.
It's my quirky anime girl outfit piece. So.
Gotcha. I gotcha.
When you cosplay Tori, you can wear
Right.
Just glasses with one. What do you call that? What do you call it? An arm? What is the
I
name?
think it's an arm,
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's,
Well, it's very kawaii.
Oh, thank you. That's what I was going for when I snapped it off accidentally.
I accidentally sat on my glasses.
No, it was coming out.
Again?
Put it back on and it just fell off. I was like, oh, okay, fine.
It's going to be the big trend for next year. Once this video hits, all the cool kids will be doing it. Why'd you break your glasses? Well, Tori. So the wrestling game came into your home, and
so did Ocarina of Time
Mhm.
and Mario 64. And I was fascinated by a game that had like some kind of story to it that wasn't find Carmen Sandiego or solve the riddle of the
Right.
Titanic, which was a PC like click and go.
I know what the answer to that riddle is. It sank.
But you had to find out why.
Titanic?
I don't know. Exactly. No. So it was cool to
1910 times
play.
are weird.
Stop. To play a game that spelled out like all the books I liked to read as a kid, like Narnia and Lord of the Rings and stuff. So
yeah. That's cool, and I'm with both of you guys. I think we share a common appreciation of story in games, and we'll talk a little bit about what makes a great game later on. I'm a little older than you guys, and by a little, I mean I'm significantly older than you guys. So I remember my first games that I remember were on there was pre-Nintendo. It was Atari 2600. It was ColecoVision.
There was a time before Nintendo?
There was. It was a dark age, sir.
Oh no.
It was a dark time. Video game controllers with a stick and one button. What in the world?
Was it the pause button? What did the button do?
It didn't. There was no pause. The Atari, Intellivision, ColecoVision, and we didn't have PC gaming. I had gaming on my Apple IIe, which yeah. So you put that disc in there, and I could play text-based games like Zork or Quest Probe featuring Spider-Man.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm old, but video games have always been great, and arcade games. I grew up in the golden age of arcades, so now arcade games are gimmicky. I mean, you got to have an arcade system that's like a Dave and Buster's, but at that time, the birth of the legendary games that we play now, the Super Marios and Donkey Kongs and whatnot, that was all quarter based in arcade days. So that's sort of my pedigree. I love it. I think that what a time to be alive, to grow up and be there when Nintendo came out. You know, I've grown up with these consoles, and I love it. In fact, while we're talking about this kind of thing, I want to show a video real quick, and hopefully you guys can kind of track with this. See if I know how to screen share on this thing properly. This is a video that I found. It's called Nuts for Nintendo. It was a special on TV News from the late 80s. If I'm guessing by the games they're referencing, it's probably 1988, 89. But check this out and see if you may have seen this before, but it's just hilarious to look at the way that things have changed a little bit. See if you guys can enjoy this with me.
So to please the kids, they line up at the few stores that have been able to get copies of the hottest Nintendo games. Mario 2 and The Adventure of Link.
Can I have Super Mario Brothers 2?
Now what's Nintendo, you ask, and why should you care?
What's
Well, I think it's
Nintendo,
something
you
should
ask,
know
and why
about
should you
because
care?
It's captured America's children. School bus drivers report the kids are talking less about clothes and sports and what Joe did to Jane,
I know, I'm
and more about
When you get to those things that go up and down, you just jump on them.
after school, even on the day that brings
That's
the
fake, 'cause
first
girls didn't play
beautiful
Nintendo.
snowfall of the season. Everyone's eager to get inside
There are also
the
no girls
house
on the internet
so they can
now.
rush
No,
to
not
get
now.
to the television set.
Depends on what chat room you're in,
Usually
but
they
you're
don't
true.
play
You're right.
together. We invited them to a Nintendo party.
I don't
They
believe
pop
any of
the
those kids have that
cartridge
many
into this
friends.
deck, which attaches to any television.
No,
set.
they sugar them all up
These
before they put them in this
controls
room
direct
to
the
make
Right.
it. This
The
is
better
like
your
the video
eye-hand
game version of
coordination,
Reefer
the better
Madness.
You do. Never has there been a toy that's been this
It's all
successful.
propaganda. Look how
Cars
captivated they
editor
are.
of a
They played
magazine
Super
that
Mario
follows
Brothers for the
the
first
industry.
15 seconds of level 1. So then they start talking to child psychologists and asking questions about, like, is this dangerous for children?
Oh yeah.
It's starting to warp their brains. It's affecting their behavior. It's funny how that's not that long ago.
No.
A generation ago, video games, it was like cavemen looking at fire. What is? Why warm? Ah, hot. Don't touch. It's crazy to think about how now it's so commonplace, where not that long ago it was mysterious and is this bad for children? I read another article shortly after watching this video. It was from 2007. So again, this is well within the frame of your lifetime and modern culture. And it was the article had questions like, will video games replace movies? Is it heading that way? You know, games are so realistic right now. This is no joke from the article on today's newest systems like the Xbox 360
Wow.
that movies could be phased out. By playing video games, this is a Direct quote, I copied and pasted from this article. By playing video games, you're being lazy and not exercising. How do you feel about that? I feel personally attacked. I'm not going to lie.
I feel pretty bad now that you've made me feel pretty bad about it.
Well, I wasn't thinking about it before.
Well, I wasn't thinking about it. Now I am.
Just sitting here with my
see,
Mountain Dew.
Which games came out in 27? What?
Yeah, 2007.
In 2007.
Listen, we've been in quarantine for 13
let me
years.
see. I have the list of game released for 2027 right here. The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
Oh, look, it says Doom 2 can now run on your...
Still no Portal 3, still no Half-Life 3.
I'm trying to see like what such realistic games they were referring to at the time.
Maybe, when was BioShock released?
I think it was
Mass
one
Effect,
of them.
maybe.
Definitely.
Halo 3, probably.
We have the
Yeah,
entirety.
BioShock came out. Portal came out. Call of Duty 4.
Halo
Mario
3,
Galaxy.
Super Mario Galaxy. That's one of the ones that.
Crisis Mass Effect.
We don't have the nose physics that Mario had in Mario Galaxy yet, so...
So there were a lot of like white dudes with guns as,
Oh, no.
as games that came out.
So 2007 was the year everything went off the rails in our country. That's what happened. It
That's
was
the problem.
it was Nathan Drake and Guitar Hero. That's what
Right, and Dance Dance Revolution.
Dance
for
Dance
sure.
Revolution.
DDR Mario Mix, particularly.
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking.
And Altair for sure. So
Yeah, Assassin's Creed really
really
threw
set the
nation
tone.
down. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, so what do you think they're going to say about video games a generation from now about this generation of games? What do you think they're going to look back and go, "Oh, well the kids were all in their virtual realities." I mean, you look at it kind of from the point of view of like a Ready Player One.
Right.
Like, is that the way it's going, where we just unplug from reality?
Not. I don't think that will happen. Well, it depends. On the one hand, I want to say not in my lifetime, but having seen the other side of game development, with all the bugs that crop up, like you're never going to have a game that's stable enough to be able to unplug, or B, a fan base that is willing to put their differences aside long enough to enjoy it. So what I think will happen
This is why I can't play online games. The minute I log into online games, like, you're dead. Oh, well, that sucked.
I didn't even get through the HUD tutorial. Where am I?
Like, I paid for a whole year of Xbox Live, and I'm never playing Halo Online again.
Oh no.
I'm sorry, not if that 12-year-old girl keeps killing me. It's doing damage to my fragile ego.
Have you had the opportunity to play any Fall Guys yet?
I have. I have played it.
So I have, much like, getting on a game and being shot by an 11-year-old girl in Call of Duty. The first time you get pushed off the edge by another bean in Fall Guys is the last time I'm playing that game. So
yeah, so Fall Guys is what I consider, it should be for believers, a sanctification test. Because if you could play Fall Guys for any amount of time and not cuss someone or make like a comment about somebody's mom or throw your controller, because that's a game it's fun, it's delightful, it's clever, and it's so frustrating. Because you will get knocked out of that game for no fault of your own.
True.
It has very little to do with skill.
Straight facts.
I'm trying so hard to climb the stupid level where the goo rises, and I get on those big round the Chuck E. Cheese looking guys, and I'm trying to cross this stupid bridge, and I finally get over the edge, and there's a bean waiting there with his arms out, ready to push me down.
I love how they stand. They're like, I love it. It's my favorite.
Like, not even trying to do anything but just ruin your day.
Right.
Like this is why I woke up and brushed my teeth today.
Right.
To piss you off.
Listen, buddy, I put in PTO all day. I can see 8 more hours right here.
Right
I'm ready.
Here, ready.
Yeah, and it's just you get to a certain point, and it's like, you know what? I think the whole thing is the level hates me, and the programmers probably hate me. Like, with everyone who wants to see me ashamed about my life, it is a very fun game. It's easy to get into, but boy, it's a test.
No, I agree. But,
Do you play online games a lot, like competitive with strangers?
No, I don't. My wife will disagree with me. I like to say I don't have a competitive bone in me. The problem is I do. All of my bones are competitive.
I don't have.
That's why I don't play competitive games.
Right.
Because I don't lose very well.
He loses. Yeah, it's true. But you also like.
I can't lose if I don't play.
Yeah.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly.
Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. It's both. It's both.
But it's like there's also a learning curve to some online games that like you just get really frustrated very easily.
Oh, me particularly.
Yeah, you personally.
Not the proverbial.
So you don't play them very often because of that. So.
I think that there's now the trend that I've seen is with games that have a strong online component. If you pre-order the games, they're giving out like you get it 3 days early.
And you get to practice.
And that's the thing. So for online games, that really is a serious edge for people that want to play competitively. And that's why I'll get on games like Overwatch, and I'll enjoy it if I'm playing with my friends.
Yeah.
I don't particularly mind losing to because we're having fun. But strangers who that's all they do.
Like it's their job, yeah.
Yeah.
One time I got up early in the morning and I played Overwatch. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning. And I realized the only people that are up at 7 o'clock in the morning playing Overwatch are there because they have not gone to sleep.
Yeah.
Right.
They are there to wreck you.
Yes.
And there's no fun to be had in that for me.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm also not that way. Also, I feel like games like that, personally for me, I don't get into them because there's nothing else but the competitive part.
Yeah. Right.
So there's no tertiary like story or there's no context for it except for what I can watch on YouTube, and then I don't have to play the game. Like all the stuff I like about Overwatch I've seen on YouTube.
Sure.
Or, like on their Instagram,
and they did a remarkable job developing those characters. I would watch any or all of them in a Pixar style movie.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But if the only context in which I enjoy them as a player is screaming at other people or getting screamed at by 12-year-olds, then like I don't know, that doesn't really do it for me. So I don't.
And there are people that, and we're not taking anything away from gamers that enjoy online community and fighting.
Oh no, that's just not for me.
It's not my bag either. So, and that's why we're talking to each other. They can get their own show to talk on.
Exactly.
Listen, sometime between the ages of 25 and 45, you have plenty of time to start your own podcast.
Right, exactly.
That's prime podcasting time.
True.
That's right.
They've got plenty of time.
Yeah.
Plenty of time. So you guys are Final Fantasy fans.
I am, yes.
It didn't take long for me. It didn't take long for me to turn this corner.
Okay.
Did you ever play the online Final Fantasy games?
That's a loaded question, and you know it.
Wait, I'm just curious. I'm asking for the people.
Yes, but only 14. Like we didn't play 11.
Nobody played 11.
Everybody knows 11 is just proto 14 anyway.
Fair. Was there another one?
No, just those two.
Just those two. Okay. Yeah.
It was 10, which was beautiful, 11, which was awful, 12, which was beautiful, but nobody played it, 13, and then 97 copy clones of 13.
Yes, true.
14, which I'm asking about specifically now, and then 15, where the game gets back on the tracks.
Yeah, definitely.
So tell me about 14. I've never played it.
So 14 is the Final Fantasy game for people who don't like Final Fantasy.
Okay.
I will be the gameplay specifically.
Okay.
I will talk about that. The context of Final Fantasy, it's all fan service. But as far as
that's why I'm there.
The gameplay, confession time.
Uh-oh.
I hate playing Final Fantasy games. Like physically playing them is exceptionally boring and frustrating for me. I very much enjoy watching other people play them and I like watching him strategize and like playing his parties and stuff, but personally it is a slog for me and I find it very boring because I grew up playing Mario and Link and they run in and they cut and then they leave, and there's very much an attitude of control when it comes to
you never played
battling.
Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link, did you?
No, I didn't, and that's why I don't play that one either, because
I think slog is a beautiful way to describe that game.
Right. I don't have any agency over when I fight or when I choose to fight. Of course you can run away, but
for the record, you're talking specifically about turn-based combat.
Yeah, I just don't like turn-based combat and not being able to choose. So 14 is not that, and that's why that was my way of getting into the rest of Final Fantasy, which I enjoy very much. The stories and the characters and the themes and obviously the music and the art direction and all of that. 14 and 15 too, because 15 was more action RPG than turn-based.
They started getting away from the turn-based in 12, but it really kind of fully realized, I think, probably by 15. 7 is definitely action-based, the remake.
Yes,
7
I loved 7.
7, the remake, is basically like 15, but with the story of 7.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And an insane amount of facial expression animation that tops most things I've seen ever. So, like, I can't even...
We can go back and touch on your comment earlier about... in fact, I realized we never ended that conversation about what people are going to say.
We're just flowing, man. We're just going with the flow.
About, like, what games are going to be like in the future. In not so many words, I wanted to say that I think games are going to be such a mainstay in the future that games now will be looked at the same way classic Hollywood films are today.
Okay.
In that they were precursors to a booming industry that's going to happen.
Like they set the stage.
Yeah, definitely. In fact, I think that era is already past. I think that the golden era of Hollywood, or like back in the 30s and 40s, I think we already had that in, like, I would say the 80s through the 2000s. And then I think, I believe the PlayStation 4 era, the Xbox One, I won't bring Nintendo into this right now. Definitely the Xbox and the PlayStation. I think this current gen that is now finishing really, like, is the first new era of games as art. Whereas video games before were very video gamey. And if you're a fan of games, you already know what that means. And if you're not, it basically means it's a toy with rules and buttons.
I see what you're saying.
Whereas now, games are finally, like, nuanced enough, and they can kind of be metatextual enough to, like, reference themselves. They can talk about the human condition while still being a video game.
Right.
Final Fantasy VII Remake achieves this with mocap the entire time, and not just like pre-rendered CGI cutscenes that only happen, at certain very special events in the game, but like even the between combat character building scenes between, like, Cloud and Barrett, their faces move in such a realistic way. Yeah, they're having essentially party chat. Yeah,
there's little things that I'm still very early in Final Fantasy VII Remake, but there's little things that I've noticed that are just interesting dynamic touches that across, I think, the PlayStation 3, I'm a PlayStation gamer primarily, but across PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, there are things that I always kind of had to imagine characters doing in games when I was a kid, and now you're starting to see it. It really caught my attention in 7 when, after the initial mission, they just bombed the station, the Mako station, which, by the way, I've been pronouncing Mako wrong since 1997.
We all have.
Might be.
Me too. It's okay.
But so Cloud is kind of walking through the back streets trying to stay away from the guards until he's not, and then he decides to kill all of them.
Right, of course.
And I just kind of walked casually by some cars that were on fire, and he lifts his arm to kind of shield himself from the embers and the heat. And he walked away, and I thought I imagined it. I'm like, let me walk back. And I walk back, and his arm goes back up, and I'm like, that's a great touch. The environmental awareness that you're playing a character who you're not just controlling with buttons, but who actually exists in that environment is it's so immersive.
It is.
And it's amazing. There were little things like that happen in the Uncharted games too, where you'll walk and your character will just kind of reach their arm out and touch the wall, as if they're just kind of walking and feeling the texture. There's no device, no gameplay mechanic. They're just reacting to the environment around them. I remember days when you would play video games and they wouldn't even change their walking animation when you took them upstairs.
Right. Yeah.
And they would just kind of like hover up the. Yeah. Actually, that's a good point. I was going to say, next time you play the 7 remake.
Yes.
Watch Cloud walk upstairs. Watch him walk every step.
He looks down.
He goes up the stairs.
And he walks down the stairs. I saw that in the demo and I was like, stop. Go back up the steps.
Tori made him walk up and down the steps. He got a workout that day.
He did, yeah, for sure. Like, he needed one. I was just so impressed that, like, because even in, like, Final Fantasy 14, you don't walk upstairs. You just sort of ascend or descend at an angle.
I mean, Final Fantasy 14 is also a game where a T-Rex can fly, so...
Fair enough. But,
I'm sorry, if that's not what reality is about in video games, why are we even playing them? I mean, I fought Mother Brain. I mean, I'm ready to suspend disbelief.
Right. But, so, we were playing the demo of all things for 7 Remake, and he went up, I had to stop. Like, that was... much like him, like, shielding himself from the heat. It was it's those little realistic touches that really set Final Fantasy VII apart. And we went back and played some other game afterwards. It was...
Was it 15? No.
No. It doesn't matter. I was just looking at it, I'm like, this is not... I'm ruined forever because of the lack of facial expressions that they don't have.
Isn't it
Really
funny
over
how
the top.
we can? You're comparing the Hollywood movies versus the video games that we play. It's funny how we can go back and watch classic Hollywood movies and appreciate them for what they are, and still see art in it because of kind of the human condition that they convey. But the technological advances in video games happen so fast that you can go back and play an old game and be like, ooh, once that new bottom rung has been set, it's really difficult to go back. Not to appreciate it from a technological standpoint. I mean, we can go back, and there's certain games that are timeless in the simplicity of their mechanics. I can play Donkey Kong right now and be great with it, but I can't play Donkey Kong 64 right now.
No.
Can't do it.
Oh, hold on. Can I put a little pin in this one for just a sec? Rare, can we talk about Rare for just a moment?
I wish we would.
So, Rare, the company, the artists formerly known as Rare, which are now known as
Rare,
Playtonic.
at one point, the most brilliant and innovative game developing company in the world.
Those are good words for them. So I'm speaking specifically about the guys who made Donkey Kong Country, Banjo-Kazooie, and DK64. Those are the guys I'm talking. Those are the guys I'm calling out right now.
Okay, call them right now. They're on the line.
I have. Yeah. Can I get David Wise on the phone, please?
Yes.
Actually, David, I love you. You have no problems. You're wonderful. It's everybody else that I'm gonna have a problem with.
David's not a listener.
No, but as I'm finally gonna put on my pretentious game designer hat for a second.
You've never taken it off.
I've played all those games in my adult years. I have played them from an analytical perspective. I've played them from a design perspective. They are beautiful. They are atmospheric. They are fun. They are memorable. They are not good. Donkey Kong Country, Banjo-Kazooie, and DK64 are not good video games.
Yeah.
The gameplay is horrible. It's
great.
clunky. Donkey Kong's hitbox in DKC 1 is so big that he gets hit by a rat that's almost a full 3 inches away, like comparatively. And it's just that was what I wanted to rant about. Is that those games, they're fun, they're memorable, they're very nostalgic. I love them, but they're not good.
Yeah, we replayed. Was it 2 years ago? We replayed Banjo-Kazooie on the N64. Like, we didn't emulate it on the Xbox or anything. Because that's when I played as a kid, and I was like, well, we gotta play it, it's really fun.
Yeah.
And we're playing through it, and I'm like, oh wow, this is terrible. It's so, because it's difficult in ways that it works against you, instead of difficult in ways where you have to, like, be smart or be skilled.
Sure.
It's just the game beating your butt, and you're like, well, I guess
Before I get eggs thrown at my house, before Tony himself throws eggs at my house,
I wouldn't dare. Although I do take a little umbrage with your crucifixion of Donkey Kong Country. But I'm not going. But I'm not going.
Kong Country.
I know.
I do.
I do. I understand what you mean. And I'm just saying. But I'm not going to live or die on it because I was never emotionally attached to that game.
right.
But it's a beautiful game, and it's still a very playable game.
Yeah.
Playable's great. We like playable.
Yeah, because Final Fantasy VII original's not
the original?
playable. Like,
The original Final Fantasy VII was unplayable the minute Final Fantasy VIII came out. That's not a joke.
I agree.
It's so slow and trotting and just self-indulgent.
yes.
It's so heady. It's so
very...
but I want to finish the Rare.
Okay,
the
sorry.
Rare.
Oh yes,
for a
please.
second.
I'm sorry. Yes.
Because
David, I hope you're listening.
I do hope you're listening, David. I think those games are wonderful, and I want it to be said that I only feel this way about mechanically speaking. Everything else about the game is great. They did a fantastic job. They put a lot of work in and a lot of heart, but mechanically, it needs
age well.
It needs a lot of polish.
Oh.
So do you think, and I know that we speak with the arrogance of looking backwards.
Oh,
here,
of course, yeah.
But the arrogance of hindsight aside, do you think that we have reached a generation where games from a previous console generation are going to remain playable? The duration is that we finally reached a point where the law of diminishing returns no longer applies?
I think that could have been achieved in eras past as well. I think that the onus of that lies on the presentation of the game. For example, Mario 64 is an ugly game, but it's perfectly playable.
It's exceptionally playable.
It has a lot to do with honestly, from Tori's wheelhouse, it has a lot to do with the visual presentation and the mechanical presentation. Final Fantasy V is really playable today because the mechanics are very simple. They're very clear. For our listeners who may not have experience with 5, Final Fantasy VI is almost as playable as 5. The mechanics are a little, much like 7, there are a lot of mechanics in 6.
Sure.
But once you understand them, it's not nearly that bad.
Yeah.
And then 7 rolled around and decided that you needed to play a snowboarding mini game.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right in the middle of all of the chaos.
The world is ending, but let's go to Chuck E. Cheese.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's go to Gold Saucer. And
to answer your question, yes, I do think that we are in that era, as long as the designers are mindful of their stuff.
It's weird because I'm thinking of games that I feel like should be playable and they're almost not. And honestly, I'm trying to think. So it also, it depends because, so Metroid Prime I'm playing through again. And the first, it's good. I love it.
That's another one.
I'm not playing through it. I'm playing it. This is my first playthrough of it, but it's obviously like an older game.
Metroid Prime was for the GameCube?
Yes.
Yeah. First-person version of Metroid. Very innovative. Not the prettiest game, but it worked okay with the age of video graphics.
Your shovel doesn't have to be pretty to break ground.
Yeah. I also felt that even playing through it now, I didn't feel that it aged poorly. Like, Ocarina of Time did not age well on the N64.
I concur.
I love it very much, but it's a little gritty.
It's very brown, green and brown.
But Metroid I didn't think was overly awful. But the first-person game I played was probably Portal, in all honesty.
Sure.
And then after that, stuff like Skyrim. So there's something about those two games where you control the camera and you control your movement separately.
Yeah.
It's a very specific mechanic.
Do you play Skyrim first person or third person?
First person.
Oh my gosh, It has a third person mode?
Yeah,
it does, but it's like
not
right
one that you
here.
should use.
It's really close. It almost doesn't matter. Whereas Metroid doesn't have this dual thing.
Right.
So I'm relearning, and so that I wish. But I mean, it's still very playable, so that doesn't even count. So I don't know, so never mind.
She has not played the Wii versions of the game. She hasn't played the third one, Corruption, yet.
Sure.
And I haven't played it in many years, but if I remember correctly, they fixed the camera because I could play it, and I couldn't play Prime 1 on the GameCube.
You've tried to play it the other day.
But yeah, no, dual stick camera technology is very important to modern. And I think that was one of those keys that we needed to unlock the doors of having a game last and not be horrible.
Like Skyrim.
I mean, Skyrim lasting?
Yeah. Because it's so very like Skyrim's.
I mean, Todd Howard's not going to let us.
No,
let
Skyrim
die.
We watched yesterday. They came out with kind of the final PlayStation 5 teaser video. Here's some trailers, and my son asked me, he said, "Do you think they're going to put Skyrim out for the PlayStation 5?"
100% launch title.
It's an 11-year-old game, and they're probably going to put it out. I mean, they probably are. I mean, and enough people will buy it to justify the new box art.
How many times have we bought Skyrim?
Between us?
Yes.
Oh, geez. Let's see. All right, so let's count this out. I owned it on the PS3. I owned it on my PC on Steam. I bought a copy for my Xbox One. I bought a copy for my PS4. I bought a second copy for my Xbox One because, and I quote, my copy was at your parents' house, and I didn't want to wait until Saturday to go get it.
That's right.
Oh my gosh.
We have a game store, a local game store like 5 minutes away, so I went and picked up a $5 copy of Skyrim for the Xbox One because I didn't want to wait that long.
Yep.
And it was like Thursday.
Totally worth it.
And then
you have how many copies for you?
I have one on...
Oh, the Switch. I own it on the Switch digitally.
Were you disappointed by the Switch version of it?
No, I wasn't actually.
Nope.
I got to play, but I wasn't because I got to play it at work, and that overshadowed everything else that could have been bad with it.
Yeah, so it was definitely like
it crashed a few times.
Yeah.
It definitely did that. The portability of those...
Skyrim's always been known to be a little glitchy, a little touch on the glitchy side.
At least a little bit.
That's not a bug, it's a feature.
Yeah, right.
That bear is flying. What?
Right.
That's
Congratulations!
You found a flying bear.
Achievement unlocked.
I played quite a lot of it on the Switch, actually. and I really liked how you could aim with Joy-Con.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good.
Well,
so.
before all the drifting.
Yeah, my Joy-Con
No one can use their Joy-Cons now.
pretty much useless now.
I
I
can't.
can hardly play Animal Crossing, so
I just had to spend the $80 to buy my son new Joy-Cons, and mine are on the way out. It's a shame, and I feel really bad for all the people who didn't pony up and bought a Nintendo Switch Lite.
yeah.
What the crap are they going to do? Because those sticks aren't
Right.
somehow made of better materials.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
right.
I just
So-
use the Pro Controller.
Me too.
Have you? Did you have any opportunity to? Have you seen any of the home remedies for the Joy-Con drift, like using air and
I
contact cleaner
have.
and-
In fact, Jackie from the Nerd of Godcast, hers is horrific and unplayable, and her boyfriend Mike has just bought a stick replacement set for like $15, and you can actually just pop it out, pop it in. It's supposed to work on fixing it. We'll see.
Okay.
I'd be interested to know if that works
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
So significant difference between $15 and $18. So.
Yeah.
I mean, the Joy-Con drift alone keeps me from wanting to play my Switch. I
Yeah.
have to be
Oh,
like
200%.
because I can't play it portably.
No.
No.
I have to play it on the. I don't mind using the Pro Controller, but then I'd have to be docked. And,
Yeah.
like, that's all well and good, but I really have to use the bathroom. So like.
Yeah, right. No, true facts, true facts. Every time I'm like, oh, I'm gonna play Animal Crossing, I pop it in, and there she goes. And I'm like, wait, now I remember.
Slowly
Over here now.
wandering off.
No.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Mare. See you later. So I haven't. Trying to decorate on Animal Crossing is hard when nothing is precise. But that's the only game I played recently since my Joy-Con started drifting, so.
That's the only one you can, because if you try to play Breath of the Wild, you're going to die.
I have.
Impossible.
I have played Breath of the Wild recently
And
with
it's
Joy-Con
frustrating. Anything that you need the precision of, Joy-Cons are not your
Forget
friend.
it.
I am a stubborn man, and I will climb the wall for an hour if it's raining. I'm not
We'll do
moving.
that.
I'm going up that wall.
I'm going up that
So,
wall if it kills me.
If it kills me,
He's
I
got
will
does.
find-
three hard containers, 4 rings of endurance stamina.
Right. I will find a tiny dry spot that I can light a fire and use the draft to fly up there as
Yeah.
far as I can. And then I get up there and my Joy-Con starts drifting. I just go launching off
There he
the
goes.
edge.
Rivali's Gale.
Right.
I don't have it unlocked yet because I'm just like exploring and doing other
Don't
stuff.
have it unlocked because
I
the,
avoided
because the legendary beast is over there, and my stick makes me go over here.
Yeah,
Right, exactly. Exactly.
Like in my most recent playthrough, I didn't want to do the story. I was just having fun exploring. So I went. I saw Sidon in the river, the big old Zora man,
Yeah.
and I went, "Oh nope, we're going the other way."
I want to get back to Skyrim in just a second,
Yes.
but before I do, what about this Hyrule, the 100 years before?
I'm torn. On the one hand, a very big hand, I love it because I really enjoyed Hyrule Warriors.
Love her warriors.
I also like it because I really enjoy lore and backstories and stuff.
Sure.
But on the other hand, I really dislike this Zelda, and I don't want her to be in the game.
Is
Yeah,
it
he was-
is it the
yeah.
tummy shirt?
No, it's the voice acting. I mean, it's not the voice acting, it's the writing. I didn't like how she was written because Princess Zelda has a job to do. We are told this in Breath of the Wild.
But
Every
don't you
Zelda
feel like
has a job.
in the trailer and the previews for this that you see that, like, you get a little bit more of the tough, I'm gonna go in there and go double fists and take this thing on Zelda, as
but
opposed to the passive
Yeah, but my problem with it is that like we already played the game 100 years later. We know what happens. What could they
Yeah.
possibly give us here that we don't already know or have made headcanons and fanfictions of?
I don't know. This sounds like a question for George Lucas 20 years ago.
Right? Like, and I'm gonna play it because I love.
Oh yeah,
Hyrule
I'm gonna
Warriors.
play it because I'm gonna be Urbosa kicking
And-
butt. But
And I also thought I really liked the art direction that Breath of the
Yes.
Wild went in. So any
Yeah.
game to be able to play in that sort of
oh, the
setting.
world's a lot of fun. Yeah.
And hopefully they'll limit the ridiculous amount of unlockable characters, because Hyrule Warriors, it was just like, I'm never going to play as Linkle. It's never going to happen.
Never gonna happen.
Never.
Other than Linkle, I disagree. I like everybody except Linkle. I love being able to play as like Agatha from Twilight Princess.
Oh yeah, she was great.
All these
I'm a sucker
obscure.
for the character.
Tingle,
Rabio.
Tingle is unplayable? Okay, I'm playing Tingle.
Right,
That's
right.
going to confetti you into oblivion.
It's like being able to play. Imagine if Mario Kart allowed you to play as the Koopalings. Like that's what we're talking about here. Like wouldn't that be great? Oh wait, yeah.
They do. They do.
My boy Lemons.
Lemmy Koopa.
Lemmy Koopa. If only they would have unlockable the live action Super Mario movie characters. That's what I want.
Let me play as John Leguizamo.
That's all I want is a
Absolutely.
mustachio-less Luigi.
Let me get Bob Hopper in there. Bob Hopper, Dennis Hopper, Bob Hoskins.
Bob Hoskins and Dennis Hopper in some kind of weird amalgamation. So going back to Skyrim, of all the different versions of Skyrim, have you ever encountered and played the Skyrim VR?
I have not had the blessing to play.
Use that word blessing loosely. If you haven't played it, like you don't know where like how you feel about it.
That's fair, yeah.
I've gotten the opportunity to do any. I have been able to play VR once, and after I took the headset off, and forever after, I have been telling people we're living in the future.
Right.
And because of that, I am excited for Skyrim VR, but I have not had the opportunity.
When they do it right, it's a beautiful thing. Like I just played Vader Immortal, which is the Star Wars VR thing. It came out on PlayStation. I picked that up. And there's some incredible VR experiences on PlayStation. Skyrim, in my opinion, was not one of them. And I'll tell you why. The fluidity of being able to walk around and explore is almost undoable, so much so that your default movement is just kind of like a point and click, and now I warp to this zone. Because freely walking around will make you you can select it, but it's so nauseating and so
really.
I already have like motion sickness, real bad, so
it's
that doesn't sound fun.
unplayable. But the default motion of control is, oh look, I'll move my little icon to this place on the ground and I'll just sort of warp, and then I'll push a button to turn, and it takes something that should be lifelike, immersive, and fluid like Skyrim and turns it into a weird Final Fantasy Tactics sort of vibe.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it was disappointing for me in that regard. Yeah. If they just had a Skyrim walkthrough, like let me just be a tourist in this wonderful world, I wouldn't even be mad at that. But.
Like, let's see, where are we going to visit today? The Louvre, Tokyo. Yes, Tamriel. Here we
go. Here we are. I just want to take just let me run to Whiterun before I go to sleep.
Get your little CD player that has a guide. It's David Attenborough is giving you a guide of Skyrim.
That's so funny.
You haven't played the
Patrick Stewart. Patrick Stewart.
And Ian McKellen. While we're doing it, I mean, we'll have them all.
Right, all of them.
Depending on what race you play, you get different narrators. Is VR the future or is it a gimmick?
I want it so badly to be part of the future. I don't think it's the future. I think it's part of the future.
Right now, it's definitely a gimmick.
Right now,
for sure.
I think we're beyond gimmick. I think VR was a gimmick 10 years ago. I think VR was definitely a gimmick when Nintendo
in the era of the Virtual Boy.
The Virtual Boy. The fever dream that was the Virtual Boy. I have not had the opportunity.
Yeah, good choice of words.
To play the Virtual Boy either. But I hope, and I do believe that VR will be a part of the future.
I feel like I've never played because I've never tried it because I'm afraid of just like falling over and like running into things. But also,
I need you to try it so that I can see you.
I don't want to. I don't want to have to control it by like a point and click thing. Like the whole point is that you're there, and if I have to like warp to a spot, then like.
And what you want is like full body mocap.
Yeah, probably.
Or like jacking into your like brain stem just so you can
like Sword Art Online.
Oh,
that kind of thing. But I don't know.
I'm not
interested in it right now anyway.
Yeah, there's some games I think that do it really well. I think when it comes to the kind of first person experience of playing a game, most of them they're just not there yet.
Yeah.
But there are some still amazing and beautiful experiences, fun and innovative experiences that we've had on our VR, and I like it. But in short bursts. It's just I get sweaty in there. I get schmutzy.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to.
You know what might work in VR? Now that I think about it,
what?
Pokemon might be a pretty good VR game. Because if you think about it, there's not a whole lot of like quick and fluid motion in most Pokemon games, and the core of Pokemon is the battles where you're standing still anyway.
Right.
Pokemon might be a great first soiree into true VR for Nintendo.
Pokemon Snap VR.
Woo!
Hey, why not? I mean,
why not?
I just remembered Pokemon Snap again on the Switch. Thank you. I forgot about it until
I think it went live. I think the pre-orders went live today on BestBuy.com. I've been looking at pre-orders because they put the PlayStation 5 available for pre-order last night. So Sony did their big reveal of, hey, here's the price and the release date for the PlayStation 5, which is pretty exciting. It's cheaper than I thought it would be. It's at $399 for the regular, and then $499 for the one with the disc in it.
That's it?
That's it. I mean, and they could. They could have made it anything they wanted it to be.
Yeah.
The PS3 was what, $600 when it first came out in like 2006 money.
Okay.
that was pre-Obama money.
Yeah.
Yeah. How much? The Switch was what, 300?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I expected 4 to 5.
Yeah, and that's where it is. Depending on what model you want, 4 to 5.
Well, it is. It's 4 to 5.
Oh, okay. Well,
so you were right on the money, kiddo.
It's there. Sweet.
And
Admittedly, we didn't even watch that. We just watched the 16 trailer.
Yeah.
We're out.
I caught the rest of the news on Twitter.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Well, the idea is, and a good thing, they just opened up with the 16 trailer, so you just watch that, and then we're done here.
That's what we did.
That's what I did. I was like, all right, cool, nice,
well,
I'm out.
Once they announced the price, I assumed they were going to go live for sale, and so I was kind of watching and refreshing different pages. Right. So last night, Wednesday night, we're having our church's Bible study, which we're doing online, and I'm leading it in a foray similar to this. We're on Zoom, and I'm getting ready to teach people about Jesus and tell them all about the good things from the Bible, and all of a sudden my phone goes ping, and it gives me a notification from Twitter. PlayStation 5 just went live on Walmart.com. So I am on one computer, confession time, telling people about Jesus while on the other computer trying to pre-order a PlayStation 5 from Walmart.com. Got it through, got it in my cart, put my credit card number in, and it was sold out by the time I was doing it. I shake my fist.
I have not had the opportunity. I've used that word a lot tonight, aren't I? I have not I have not done that kind of a thing that anticipating something is going to go live and drop and I'm going to buy it, but only in a 2-minute window. Yeah. I have not done that since Amiibos first came out in 2016.
We did the SNES Classic that way.
No, I just sent you to the store at 5 in the morning to get that.
That is true.
I was working. I had to work.
It's your own little Black Friday. So we did that when the Wii U came out because as fast as the Wii's sold, and I was able to get a Wii.
That's an understandable thought process in 2012.
We're going to get the Wii U because these things are going to fly off the shelves.
Yeah, right.
So I bought one on pre-order, but before I could get it in, I sent Sheena to the store at 6 o'clock in the morning to get one. So we had two, and I said, you know what, this is good. I'm not even going to put it on eBay and jack up the price. I'm going to see if anybody that I know wants one, and nobody that I knew wanted one. We ended up just having to return it to the store. And as it turns out, I think I'm the only person that was in my immediate circle of people that even had a Wii U.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also was for several years, and then one of my buddies got one and only played Smash on it.
Well, yeah. I ended up getting a notification that they went on sale on Target, and I bought one on Target.com. So I did get one before Bible study was over. Felt pretty good. And then last night at midnight, I was laying myself to bed. I got a notification on Twitter. They just went live on Amazon. So I'm like, you know what? Okay. And I just bought another one. So I have two PlayStation 5s. Just in case.
Generous, by the way.
We'd like to sow this into your ministry.
Honestly, I have a rule about new consoles. First, don't ever buy a console at launch, and then I immediately break that rule. The second is I don't buy a console until I know that there are 5 titles that I'm going to play on it.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I generally end up not getting those 5 titles. I end up getting other titles. But if I can justify 5 titles, then I can get that. I think for the PS4,
we instituted that rule for the PS4 because we got an Xbox One. I play Pirates.
Game. I got an Xbox One to play Sea of Thieves.
So, okay.
I still haven't played Sea of Thieves.
Never played Sea of Thieves, but we got an Xbox One to play that. So that's what we had. And then we found out that all the games we wanted to play on PS4, the ones that we wanted to play, not all of them obviously, but were also available on the Xbox One. So at the time, it was very difficult to justify buying a PS4 and the Xbox. So you could play Kingdom Hearts on the Xbox, you could play Final Fantasy 15 on the Xbox, you could play Skyrim.
I mean, if you're really desperate, you could play Final Fantasy 15 on your phone.
Fair.
If you're really
desperate. Nier Automata.
Final Fantasy 15 in the art style of Final Fantasy 7.
Right, exactly. So at the time, I was like, okay, we were like talking because we're married now, and we have to like
We
make
talk
those
sometimes.
decisions.
Yeah, as one would.
Family. And I was like, well, you can't just buy a PS4. We can't do that. He's
Tell
like,
that to
okay,
my
well-
wife who found out this morning that I bought 2 PlayStation 5s.
Exactly. So he was like, okay, well, if I can find 5 games, then I think that'd be good. And I said, yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds viable. And then we didn't buy any of those 5 games. We bought 5
Well, that's
different
not true. We did.
Did we?
Yeah. So those 5 games were because it was late it was only last year. It was late
Yeah,
in the PS4's life cycle.
we haven't had a PS4 very long.
So the 5 games that I wanted to buy were Dragon Quest 11. Even though I'd already played it on the Switch, I would have bought it again. Dragon Quest Builders, I really wanted to play. Dragon Quest
I
Builders
really want to kill some gels.
2, you have to.
True.
Dragon Quest Builders 2
True.
is very close to one of my favorite video
Very
games
good.
of all time.
All right.
It's a true delight.
The Final Fantasy VII Remake, Kingdom Hearts
Yes.
3, I wanted to play it on the console it was built for.
Yes.
And
I think we got Final Fantasy 12. No, that was the one I got because I wanted
yeah,
to
no,
play
you got that
one.
one eventually.
Yeah,
And it was something I bought and it's
Is it a
still
Spider-Man?
sitting. It's probably No, I think Spider-Man came with the console.
Or Horizon Zero Dawn.
Also came with the console. I got a
Oh.
deal. It was a good deal.
Okay.
Horizon Zero Dawn is a gorgeous game.
Haven't touched it yet. I believe you.
Someday.
Someday.
It is. My wife played through it, and it's one of her favorites. She's excited about the next one coming out for PS5.
Oh, nice. I didn't know there was no one. It came out with Breath of the Wild, and there was no contest for
No
me.
contest.
So I didn't even bother.
That's true. It did come out at the same time. And
It
there was a
did.
weird, like,
It was-
for like 3 days, there was a weird rivalry. And then everybody realized these are completely different games.
Different games, I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Well, they have. You talk about 5 games coming out with the console. The PlayStation 5, when it comes out, is going to have this PlayStation Plus collection. So if you have PlayStation Plus, which is their online service,
yeah.
it's like the Nintendo Switch Online. Just like Nintendo gives you a ridiculous slew of Super Nintendo and Nintendo Entertainment System games on your Switch just for having it, they're going to be doing that for the PS5 as well with a bunch of PS4 games. So you can get games like Batman Arkham Knight and Fallout 4 and Final Fantasy 15 and God of War and The Last Guardian and Monster Hunter and The Last of Us and Persona 5 and just several other AAA game titles on launch day for free,
Lots of heavy hitters.
Yeah. which is pretty cool. That's
that's
like,
awesome.
hey, I didn't know I was going to buy this anyway, but
Yeah,
thanks,
right.
guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Agreed.
I just ordered the pie, but it's a la mode now.
Right.
In the
On
wormhole.
the house.
And I love the idea. I guess Xbox is doing the same thing too. They try to give gamers stuff that doesn't cost them anything. They'll make more money just on the DLC that you're going to end up buying for your free game than anything else. But I'm not always mad at game gimmicks. I'm not always mad when they want to do things like that. Like, we're going to give you something for free, or they want to innovate in different ways. We're going to give you some VR or motion control, or Nintendo, of course, is the king of this. Did you guys buy the cardboard game stuff, the Labo?
No,
No.
we did not buy.
Because you're not
We
8 years
thought
old,
about it.
right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We thought about it, but
We did. We thought about it.
I wanted to try Breath of the Wild in VR. That's what I wanted to do, and then we couldn't. Nobody had it, so you're like, all right, I guess
yeah, that was the
I don't
one we
want
were
it
gonna
that
get.
bad. So we didn't even bother ordering it because at the time we were very much about owning physical copies of things because at the time it was
I
okay
still
to do
prefer
that.
physical stuff.
me too. That's why I bought the PlayStation 5 with the disc drive on it.
Yeah, I wanted to touch
Yeah.
on that point, but I want to finish this first.
So that was the only one I was really interested in trying, and I wasn't that interested apparently, so I never got it.
I forgot. I forgot about Labo until the Mario Kart Live.
But that's not
Mario Kart
Labo.
Home. It's close enough. I mean, it's
It's got cardboard. It's got cardboard features.
But it's not Labo.
I know it's
or
not the
whatever.
brand.
So, and I know you want to touch on that point, but what do you think about that? Like, that's another super gimmicky accessory.
Oh, so I was like, it looks like fun if I had 8-year-old kids.
Remember
or
earlier
if
when
I
you
was
said,
8, and he was like, I'm getting it. I'm like, all
remember
right,
earlier
cool.
when you said
That's
we
fine.
didn't get Labo because we're not 8 years old?
Yeah.
I'm 8 years old for Mario Kart.
Yeah, he's in it. He's
So
in it.
I love the idea. When I saw it, I got really excited and
Very
said,
good.
that is
It's a lot of
super
fun.
cool. But then I thought, and then what happens the next day after I own it for one day and then I put it away and never play it again? And it sits on the shelf with Lego Dimensions and Disney Infinity and my Guitar Hero
Disney Infinity.
controllers.
Yeah, for sure.
I miss
agree.
Guitar Hero a little bit.
Like,
Not
I don't
enough
have
to-
the room. I don't have the living room that the people in the commercial had.
Right?
And
Right.
that's
Maybe
gonna
I
be-
should just. If I get my whole house hardwood floor though, just for Mario Kart.
But no, that's a big mood. Like you play it like that Christmas morning, and then you never play it again because what else do you do?
This is why Blockbusters should be back. We could go
and rent it
home or live. I don't even know what it's called, live or home. It's one of them. We rent the real one, real Mario Kart, and the real Mario Kart of New Jersey. And
Real Mario Kart.
We play it for a day, and then 6 days later, bring it back to Blockbuster if we didn't forget.
Right.
And then rent.
Give it back.
I don't know, an N64.
Pokemon Snap.
Rent the Pikachu N64 and then send them the black one back and tell
right.
that we don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, we don't have that.
And I'll admonish you strongly. First off, we'll move past that crazy shenanigan. I'll admonish you strongly that the idea of playing some of these games is just it seems like a good idea at the time, and I've been burned so many times by, hey, that seems like a clever thing.
Yeah.
5 feet behind me right now is my Power Glove. It seemed like a good idea at the time.
But now it's a collector's item. Now you own a Power Glove.
It's an ironic collector's item.
Right, but like he bought it unironically.
I bought it in 1989 thinking I'm going to play Mike Tyson's Punch-Out just like the guy in the commercials playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, when it was really a series of finger bending, and it wasn't motion control. I mean, well, I can't speak because I never had one. They had 2 infrared sensors similar to how the Wii does. So there was some level of moving, but it was very crude, very rudimentary.
Oof.
Yeah, oof is right.
You going and getting one now, put in your collection.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, if you had the whatever popular HTC Oculus PlayStation VR, if you those controllers are really responsive because you can have this like the idea of like this high definition gyroscopic motion controls that Nintendo has done a lot with.
Right.
But like there's a really high degree of like you could actually do a Power Glove today, I think.
I see what you're saying.
It would still be a gimmick, and no one would buy it, but you could do it.
Right.
I say that we need to do a Kickstarter to bring back the Power Glove. Like make like a real one that really works.
I mean, that'd be so cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
For a day or two.
Right.
Yeah, and then you go right on the shelf next to your Mario Kart Home, Mario Kart Live. I want to love it, man. I want to love it, but I've been burned before, and it's mostly been by Nintendo.
Yeah, no, it's
They
true.
are the king of gimmicks, and sometimes it's really hit or miss. And when
really
they hit,
is.
it really hits. And when they miss,
So what's been the hit?
the Wii motion controls.
The Wii motion controls.
Still, grandmothers in nursing homes are still playing Wii bowling.
Wii bowling, and that's where I'm gonna call you out on that, because Wii motion controls are great when you're playing Wii bowling. When you're trying to play the Twilight Princess, they're garbage.
It's awful.
So I had the Wii version of Twilight Princess when the first time I played it.
Sure.
And so forever and always, I will think that you GameCube people are just a bunch of babies who can't play.
Babies?
Yes, babies.
It was ported from the GameCube to the Wii.
I'm not
You got
saying
the
you're
discount
wrong.
version.
I'm not saying you're wrong.
You got the one
fact that
where the
you are
castle's
so
on the right
wrong.
and not the left. You got the. How come your Link is right-handed? That's what I want to know.
When I was what year was that? 2007. When I was 14, that didn't matter to me. I didn't care what hand Link used.
I cared very much.
Yeah, but just waggle, waggle, waggle is not my idea of combat.
No, that's fair.
Now, Skyward Sword, I think, did a better job.
It did a better job. It
At
didn't do
the
a
most-
good
It did a
job.
better job of what it set out to do.
Right, but I never played through Skyward Sword. It's one of the few Zelda games that I never finished because.
Have you?
It's a rough
But you have
one.
played it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
It's a rough
And
one.
when they make it into the Zelda Collection HD on,
It would be
the
so
Switch,
good on the Switch.
It'll be great on the Switch.
It'll be so good on the because the
that
Switch does it
poor
right.
game, that poor game suffered so badly for its timing. I feel like so I played through it all. I got pretty decent at it, at fighting with the sword. I was actually kind of good at it, and I did not just thank you. But it wasn't fun to play. And I used to have beef with the story too, and I no longer. That was silly. The story's fine. I like it, but it just wasn't enjoyable to actually like the gameplay. Again, was just not something I liked, and I think it was too soon. I think if it had waited just a little bit longer, it could have been fine-tuned even better, more precise. There were so many times that I just didn't. It was sloppy in ways that I felt that it didn't have to be.
It was a sloppy wet kiss when it could have been an unforeseen kiss.
Right, exactly.
Gotcha. No, I'm saying there's a very stark difference. Of the three, and I'm going to call that the generational triad of, or maybe triforce of Zelda games. Wind Waker, Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess. I think kind of those are the three that are from that era. The GameCube, Wii,
Definitely.
basic same vibe. Which one comes out on top as a great Zelda game? Having a hard time, right?
Oh, I'm not. No, I know.
Oh,
I'm gonna say Wind Waker, but the HD version. That's my vote.
That's fair. And you got to give Wind Waker what it was for the time. Obviously, the HD version of the Wind Waker is infinitely superior. Infinitely superior. But for the time, the Wind Waker was solid for what it was.
It wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But the Wind Waker HD was brighter. Everything.
It was lovely.
It was kind of like it almost has like a lens over it.
It looked like what you think they meant the GameCube version was supposed to look.
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
am
And
I
also,
a shade on my screen?
It didn't feel like I was spending so much time traversing hours of ocean.
Yes.
You know how many times I would wake up on the couch in the middle of the water on Wind Waker, just where am I?
Where are we?
Where are we?
Nintendo said, let's give them a game with nothing in it and watch them buy it. It had things, but it didn't have as many things.
No.
One step away from the Penn and Teller bus simulator. That's where I was.
Yes.
Okay, so Tori, you have an opinion on this.
Undoubtedly, I think Twilight Princess comes out on top, the GameCube version specifically, and I will fight and die on this hill, hands down. I think that it was exactly what it said it was. It wasn't trying. There were no gimmicks for the GameCube version. It wasn't cel shaded. It was exactly.
It was Ocarina too.
It was Ocarina of Time just for the GameCube, which I didn't have any problems with.
I have to stop you right there, though. Like, I disagree. I feel like that triad of games leans so heavily on gimmick that it became cumbersome. You say there's no gimmicks to it. Your main hero is a werewolf.
Okay, no, that's true. You do have me there. Okay, I meant like mechanical gimmicks.
So you're looking at Zelda Waterworld versus Zelda the Werewolf versus Zelda Hogwarts in the Sky.
Right, true. The biggest beef I have with playing, other than the controls, I didn't like the fact that it wasn't a seamless open world in Skyward Sword, and I could not be bothered to explore it. You could not. It was hard. It was cumbersome, and I did not enjoy. It was just dungeon and then the dungeon. So like even the overworld was just another dungeon, and then you dove into the specific dungeons. Whereas Twilight Princess, I loved looking in all the nooks and crannies and finding out how everything connected and all that sort of thing.
Because you could play it like Skyward Sword, or you could play it like Ocarina of Time.
Exactly. That's pretty much. Yeah. I'm biased because Ocarina of Time was the first one I played, so
sure.
There's definitely.
See, now I'm an original Zelda guy, pre-Zelda 2, Legend of Zelda. It's
right.
years to go along, take this, and that's why to me the perfection of the Zelda series, and if you argue with this, you're dead to me, is Breath of the Wild.
Oh, I agree. Of course.
Definitely.
But because
that's objective. That is a fact.
It broke free from the every Zelda game has to have a gimmick. Like, and in this one, he's gonna have a steam engine, a locomotive. Okay. All right.
Have you listened to the soundtrack, though?
The soundtrack slapped.
Listen, I did not play the game for the soundtrack. I celebrate all. Zelda 2 had a great soundtrack.
The temple theme does slap.
There is a heavy metal version of the temple theme that by Entertainment System, the band Entertainment System.
I love
for some reason
System.
I do too, and for some reason they just pulled that album off of Spotify, and I'm so salty about it. Because that Zelda 2 temple theme in heavy metal form was so amazing. But I don't know. I get. They have now this 3-pack? Did you order the Mario All Stars?
No, I did not.
You did not?
I'm currently a little strapped for cash.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll have 6 months to get it. So.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will.
I'm excited.
There's going to be
those are the games that I liked. So
a lot of people are going to buy them and then go, oh, these games are not as good as I remember them being. And you'll probably
They're $20 and you get 3 of them. They're $20 games.
$20 each, and you get 3 of them. And of those 3, I don't know that I would pay for all 3 of them. So I think of them as 2 $30 games and a free game. That I wouldn't want to pay for. And I'm not even going to tell you which one I wouldn't pay for, but it's one of them.
Oh.
I personally would not pay for Galaxy. I'll be honest.
Really? I would personally not pay for Mario 64.
Only because I've bought it I've already bought it 6 times.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, I honestly,
I'll give you that.
did you
That's
play
fair.
Mario 64 when it came out for the DS, the 3DS?
Yes, that was the first game I had on the DS. Yeah,
And it was actually really good.
I enjoyed it.
And I loved how I thought I was going to hate it because I'm a purist. I love how they incorporated it. You could play as different characters.
I don't think you can be a purist at 12, so
Yes.
You had to play as different characters. Like, you didn't even have
Yeah.
Mario unlocked at the beginning. Like,
yeah, that was really cool.
Really?
I like
Yeah,
I've never
you
played
start
Start
playing
as
as Yoshi.
My
Yeah.
boy Yoshi?
Yeah,
I
you have to
love Yoshi.
unlock Wario, Luigi, and Mario, and it's actually a really fun experience because
If you
levels.
run around the whole thing like 125 times, you get Waluigi.
No, you don't. Shut up.
No, but try it. It's great.
Try it though. You don't know until you haven't tried it yet.
Waluigi.
And if you didn't get him, you did it wrong.
Run around the other
had-
direction.
When I guess I was 10 or so, and I was playing Mario 64, and I was in the 4th grade, and I could not unlock the metal cap. And the kid on the playground, who the paragon of all knowledge, of course.
Of
His
course.
uncle worked at Nintendo.
He was a subscriber to Nintendo Power.
Of course.
And Electronic Gaming Monthly.
Yeah,
Right,
he's
right.
GM, yeah, absolutely. So I would ask him, at lunch I would tell him about my struggles. I would lament that I could not get the metal cap.
Right.
And he kept telling me, you haven't defeated the dragon. And I'm like, really? And he goes, yeah, you have to defeat the dragon.
You gotta defeat the dragon.
You gotta go in the basement and defeat the dragon. There was no dragon. I looked. There's no dragon there.
No.
It's
Now,
in
what he
the
was-
basement of the Alamo.
What he was, what he was likely talking about was he realized that you needed to go into Hazy Mace Cave and ask the plesiosaur nicely
The
to take you. I forget what its name is. It has a
know.
real actual Mario name. It's got a brand name.
Really?
Well, yeah, it's the same dinosaur that's in like Mario 3D World. It looks like a Yoshi now though. Either way, it doesn't
Oh,
matter.
okay, wait a minute.
You have to ask the plesiosaur nicely to take you to the metal cave.
Right.
But
Yeah.
Research
he realized that
department
I was a
says
stupid fourth grader.
research department says it's Dorothy
Thank you.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
is the dinosaur's name. Not what I would have guessed.
No. Yeah.
No, not at all.
But he saw fit to tell this 4th grade idiot that no, you have to beat the dragon.
You got to go downstairs and slap Dorothy. Okay.
ground pound her head.
Yeah, you grabbed on her back.
Oh, you're right. And then jump on her head. You're right.
So, so they're coming out with this Mario All Stars.
Yes.
Are we overdue for a Zelda All Stars?
Oh yeah. Well, next year's the 35th anniversary. And if
That's
they
what I'm
don't give
saying.
us
Do we want to see the original Legend of Zelda with like Link to the Past graphics?
But they already did that. They already did that.
They already did that
They
in
already did that.
Japan. In
Well, yeah.
Japan. I mean,
Yeah.
you didn't play it.
Ooh, how do you know? I may or may not have access to the swarthy seas.
The dial-up
Did you?
service.
What?
Did you?
You couldn't own it in America.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was. I think it was an internet-based game. You had to like basically
Ah.
dial a
television.
game.
Oh. Okay.
It was like the first like download only game. Like you know how they had WiiWare and they have like eShop only games now.
Yes.
It was that, but for the Super Nintendo.
So why don't we see these? I mean, is this something that we need to really push? Why don't they have like a heightened graphics? Why wouldn't they go back and make Ocarina of Time with Breath of the Wild graphics?
There seems to be a weird. So like they
Don't
did that
don't
with
don't
Mario.
don't dig in on that one. Just let it soak in for a second. Ben, you're ready to push back on me here.
I have thoughts,
Uh-oh.
but I am not
I
Ninty, so I don't.
I think you just like Mario better than Zelda.
No. This has nothing to do with
And-
that.
oh,
I don't
okay.
even think they shouldn't do that. I think they won't do that. However, I need to preface this by saying every time the words "I don't think they will" have come out of my mouth regarding Nintendo, I have been proven wrong every time. So I'm not going to give anybody the satisfaction.
He swore up and down we would not
We
get
didn't need Ruby and Sapphire remakes.
Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
We didn't need them
Yes,
for 10
swore
years.
down.
10 years I was telling all my friends it's never going to happen.
Never gonna
Because,
happen.
you know why? Because you can still trade. That's why. You can trade all your Pokemon from Ruby and Sapphire
Right.
up to Sword and Shield now.
That was
Well,
his,
the ones that are allowed in Sword and
That
Shield.
was his logic, was that there was no like a
There was no
mechanical
need.
reason for Omega Red. It didn't
And then
matter.
Junichi Masuda himself came into my window while I was sleeping and whispered, "Money."
Because we're Nintendo and we know already you'll buy the same game 19 times.
And I did. I bought it.
Yeah, you want to talk about Skyrim? How many times have you paid for Super Mario Brothers? Just
I don't wanna
saying.
answer that.
Question. That's a
I'm
lot.
just saying.
But
Listen,
it's true.
I was paying for Super Mario Brothers before I ever owned it. Back when it was just an arcade game.
Oof.
One quarter at a time.
Are you gonna get the Game & Watch Super Mario Brothers?
I'm not. My son desperately wants it.
I'm proud of you.
Because he loves Mario so much, and he's also a collector of Nintendo things. He has a display with all of the Game Boys. I mean, he's very serious about it. So I would potentially get it for him just for collectability. But it whatever they're charging for it, if it's more than $20,
I agree.
Forget it.
I agree.
So
I also would get it as a collector's item, but I wouldn't. I thought about getting two, one to have and then one to keep as a collector's item, and then I thought getting two, one to have and one to sell. I would just get it and keep it in its box, but then intentionally keep it in its box.
I'm not typically a have and sell kind of guy, because when I want to have something and it's not available and other people are selling it, I get really mad at that. The only time, and it's only one time, and Tori, I think you are part of my life at this point. The only time I did that is when I wanted to get a 3DS XL, and the only one I could get was that special Majora's Mask one. The gold one with the and I got it at GameStop, and I'm like, man, I can't believe I got this, because there's so, like, every GameStop only got like 2 of them.
Oh wow.
And then I looked online and I'm like, that's what they're selling for? Okay, I'm gonna sell that, and I'm gonna buy 2 of the maroon ones. Because that's stupid. If people are actually paying for it, they want it way worse than I do. And I did. I sold it, and I made good money.
Speaking of Nintendo practices that make me mad.
Well, hold on. I still want to answer the Zelda question.
Oh, you're right. Please go ahead. Yes.
I've been waiting to answer.
I'm sorry. Yes, you are right. I am sorry. I love you.
The Zelda All-Stars collection. Tori,
I feel like Mario has been redone successfully and well so many different times, and I feel like Zelda, they did the opposite. They were like, this is the only way you can play it, and it still looks the same as it did. So like Ocarina of Time on the Wii U, for example, we have like the what's it called? The classic, whatever the name is.
What?
The retro.
NES Classic?
No.
What are you talking about?
Virtual console.
Oh gosh.
I'm sorry, on the Wii U. So like we played Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time on the Wii U with the classic controller and all that kind of thing. But it still looks the same as it did. So it wasn't a redo. They just resold it to us. We bought it.
You bought a ROM.
Right, we essentially bought a ROM, but the 3DS versions of both of those games specifically, were delightful and so very good. And I feel like I want them so desperately to give us those in February or whenever the anniversary is. And I'm very much,
Switch.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I'm very much afraid they're just gonna report and just ROM Majora's Mask, the originals, and like, even the older games too. They deserve like more love, and I'm afraid they're not gonna
love on it like Mario. Love on it like Mario. Give it that upgrade love.
Yeah.
But
next year maybe.
And I don't know, because the Mario games, in my opinion, and I'm a Zelda sellout. I mean, that's my jam from day one. Is Zelda. It's my favorite. If all other games have to be flushed, I save Zelda on my way out. The Zelda games are not as universally playable and not as enduring in quality as the Mario games, because you can still go back and play Super Mario, the first one, and it's just as playable and fun, really, as it was in 1986. The original Legend of Zelda, boy, they just kind of drop you in this world and don't tell you what you're doing, and it's anything. If you have the nostalgia of it, it's gorgeous.
Pretentious about that very thing, about like, well, that's how games should be, and like games shouldn't hold your hand, and I was a dingus.
But Zelda does a really good job at kind of like barely leading you through it. But if you'll remember, even in you won't remember because you weren't there, but in the original NES instruction booklets, they really held your hand through a lot of stuff. They gave you tips and tricks. At the end of the Zelda, they kind of gave you a walkthrough to get you to the first level, even just because they
manuals have a special place in my heart.
I've never seen the game manual for The Legend of Zelda. So.
When you can just look it up, just look up NES Zelda manual, and you can look at the PDF, and it's gorgeous. There's great art in it, like art that informed what my imagination was experiencing when I played those games. Instead of, hey, here's a little 2x2 pixel guy of Link and a 2x2 Moblin. When I looked at it, I was picturing the illustration, the full color, beautiful Studio Ghibli quality illustrations in the instruction booklet of these Moblins are like 12 feet tall, and Link is facing these giant monsters, and it really captured my imagination and informed me of like, oh, I'm not just looking at some overhead map. Link is in like the mines of Moria here.
Right.
And it's
so cool.
And that's why, to me, when I played Breath of the Wild, I was so
Yeah.
They made me feel like what my imagination painted a picture of back in 1987.
That's so cool. I love that. That's my favorite part of. My dad is an interesting position in gaming, because he didn't play NES or SNES or any of those. He played on the PC. So the first stuff we had was the N64, and so he's like, I just don't like the top-down stuff. I wish they would redo them. Like, I want them to redo The Legend of Zelda, but in a way that is, more like Ocarina
That's
of
when
Time.
we take him aside and we say, Dwight, we love you, but they did. It's Breath of the Wild.
And I told him that. He's like, oh, well, but he doesn't like Breath of the Wild as much because he likes the classic formula of the dungeons. It's very laid out.
That's fair. That's fair.
But I mean, that's what you
Classic Zelda dungeons have a place.
Yeah. So,
I would play a Breath of the Wild mod that was just the maps and dungeons from the first Zelda, just the weapons and the experience. It would not be hard to do. The game doesn't take up that much land area.
Mm-hmm.
That Hyrule would be very simple, and it would be a fun and effective and interesting world to go through.
I think there's a lot of potential.
Yeah.
I don't
Honestly,
know, with that specific engine that they
right.
could use.
And honestly, screw Zelda 2. Zelda 2 is like Zelda 2 and Super Mario Brothers 2 are like the BASTARD children of the franchise. It's like, okay. I mean, we acknowledge that you exist, and but we're not inviting you. You're off the Christmas card list,
Right.
Super Mario Brothers 2 at least was fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
But
I don't think I ever got past level 3, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was fun. But Zelda 2, I went back and I've been playing some of the old Nintendo games on the SNES and Nintendo throwback platform on the Switch. Mm-hmm. And some of those games, honestly, I don't know how I played them when I was 10 years old, because they're hard.
Yeah.
And unfun. Like Zelda 2 gives you a finite number of lives.
Oof.
That sucks.
That sucks.
And if it wasn't for the fact that you could hit those shoulder buttons and rewind the game when you get killed unfairly, because I get killed unfairly a lot.
Life's too short to not rewind.
Yeah,
exactly. I played the Super Mario Brothers Lost Levels.
Yeah.
That was the cheapest and cruelest video game experience I've ever had. Cruel.
That's why we didn't get it.
Hated people.
That's why we didn't get it, is because it was too hard. And they believed that Americans were stupid.
Listen, it's not a matter of stupidity. It's a matter of, it's like if you have somebody that has Super Mario Maker, but they're really sadistic and they just hate you, and they make a level that's just like whatever the 8-bit version of a middle finger is. That's Super Mario The Lost Levels.
Oof.
It's
Mario Maker's a fun beast, because there are people who just do that.
I personally, I don't. Now I'm especially out of practice for platformers. Every time I say I'm bad at something, he yells at me, so I won't say that. But I'm not very practiced in your traditional platformers. Like Mega Man is extremely hard for me to do.
Mega Man's hard though.
It's a precision platformer.
Okay, it's hard. I'm bad at it.
I tell you, I want to watch you play Mega Man. I think it will be fun to watch you play Mega Man.
Right.
I do not.
Yoshi was hard.
Mario and Yoshi you can play, and you don't get to say you're bad at.
It's just
you not practiced yet.
I'm like,
Mega Man, I wouldn't hold it against anybody.
No.
I was babied by the 3D stuff, and I go back and I'm like, this is not even.
It's not the 3D stuff. It's not 3D versus 2D. It's the mindset of a generation where those old games were based on how hard can we make this very small game to make it seem like you're getting more game than what it's
Absolutely.
worth. Because you can play through Super Mario Brothers in a couple hours tops. I mean, but we've got to make it hard and random and difficult so that you'll I got to go. Now I'm playing for a high score instead of actually trying to finish the game.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
But that changed in the days where game saves became common on the consoles.
Yeah.
Back in the day, most games didn't save. The Legend of Zelda was the rarity because you could actually save to the cartridge. In fact, I remember reading when Zelda came out, it might have been on the box of the instruction booklet, that the battery that was inside it was guaranteed to save games for up to 5 years. And it's funny because my son is in the other room playing The Legend of Zelda on the gold cartridge right now, and it still saves the games. And it is straight up 33 years later.
That's delightful.
Because Nintendo makes stuff that lasts. But
they do.
But so what games would you want to see in Zelda All-Stars? assuming that we don't want just kind of like a sequential Zelda 1, Zelda 2, Link to the Past, what 3 games do you think should get the upgrade, the HD upgrade, or at least the graphical upgrade?
I would like to like Link to the Past as much as, I guess, you specifically, but there's definitely a sect of fans that just absolutely adores Link to the Past, and I do not find it especially appealing. I would like to, and I feel that an HD version of that, I enjoyed Link Between Worlds, but I think that the specific Link to the Past HD upgrade, I think, would be definitely, so that one for sure, because I want to be endeared to me as much as it could be, I guess. I don't know. And I think that it's hard. I think Wind Waker's good. We got an HD Wind Waker, and it's wonderful and very good. And I think it's.
But they'll
fine.
certainly. But nobody bought it because it was for the Wii U. So they'll
That's
certainly.
true. They're gonna redo
They
it
will
again.
absolutely
anyway.
give us. I think they'll give us the Wind Waker. They'll give us Twilight Princess because they've already ported them to the Wii U, and they'll probably throw Skyward Sword in there just for good measure.
I think Skyward Sword deserves a second try. I did not enjoy playing that game, so I think that Link to the Past, Skyward Sword, and either Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask, because the graphics did not age well at all, and I think that maybe Majora's Mask specifically, because I think its story is a little more, I don't know, it's different enough to be like a quality redo.
So what if they did this? What if they came out with the 3-pack and you got Zelda, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link, and then Link to the Past, and that was your first Zelda All-Stars? And then they came out with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and I don't know, if you need a third game, just throw the Wand of Gamelon in there, whatever. And then they came out with the collection that was the GameCube / Wii games, and then you had that, and then you sell 3 packs, or you sell them all for $120 because you know people will buy them.
Oh yeah,
$100. It's a deal.
It's a deal, right? Yeah.
For $100, they could never charge $100 for that because they know people will pay $150.
Yeah, true. I'm one of those people.
I would. I'd buy every stinking last one of them.
I would. Yeah, I would.
What other games? What other classic games deserve an HD remake? Is it time just to bring Skyrim out with just a new skin to it?
Skyrim with I want HD Skyrim. That's
Skyrim.
Oh gosh, no.
Elder Scrolls 6. Can we just?
Yeah. Can we just have Elder Scrolls? Todd, please.
Todd, if you're listening.
I think it's so. If
David, talk to Todd.
Please. If we can imagine for a second, and what game gets the 7 remake treatment? Can we frame it like that?
When we watched I watched this with Steven. We did our very first Twitch video where we watched the PlayStation reveal, and I didn't know they were in the plans of making a Final Fantasy 16. It seemed too soon for a Final Fantasy 16.
You think so?
Tori and I knew that they were working on 2016 on Final Fantasy 16 for one reason.
2016. What a simple time.
Sorry, after Harambe died, everything went south.
Everything went bad.
But Tori and I knew that they were working on 16 because two of our favorite Final Fantasy veterans, I use favorite loosely for one of them, Tetsuya Nomura. Tetsuya Nomura and somebody we call lovingly Yoshi P. What's his full name?
Naoki Yoshida.
Yeah, Naoki Yoshida. Those two people in June, we were told specifically they were not working on Final Fantasy 16, which is how we moved.
Yeah.
Which means, of
please
course,
stop
they
the rumors. We're not working on Final Fantasy 16.
Nomura is the man responsible for the 7 remake, Kingdom Hearts, Lightning specifically,
The
and
design,
13.
Pretty much every Final Fantasy main character from Cloud up through and excluding Vaughn, but including Lightning and Noctis.
He was responsible for Noctis too.
From like 7 to 15 with the exception of Vaughn.
He's been our generation's Final Fantasy dad, for all of the
He's
stuff.
like Yoshitaka Amano, but from 7 to 15.
Yeah. He's not on it very much specifically.
Well, he's busy.
It shows.
Working on Kingdom Hearts 4.7.
Oh my gosh. They finally gave him his own project.
Dreamed up Avogadro's number .2.
Right, exactly. But Yoshi P is the man. So Story time. Final Fantasy 14.
Do we want to get into this yet?
I can
Or
do
do
it
we
real
want to
fast.
finish?
I can do it fast.
No, I don't want it to be fast. We're gonna. This is gonna segue into 16.
Hey, you guys got to save something for the sequel. So, story time, quickly, go.
Final Fantasy 14 was in two phases, 1.0 and then 2.0. 1.0 was a financial
Garbage, bad,
disaster.
dumpster fire.
They fired the director. They said, you can't do it anymore, it's garbage.
They said
brought
go to
in-
jail. You suck.
Yeah.
And also, we hate you personally.
Correct.
You've
So they
shattered
brought in-
your family name for generations to come.
Exactly. Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow. So they brought in the man who was responsible for the Dragon Quest MMO in Japan, Yoshi P. And he did and has done a phenomenal job. Not only the game itself, but just the community of the devs is very player friendly, very player communicative. I've never felt as taken care of as a player as I do in relation to 14 specifically.
Okay.
No Western game has ever made me feel so very heard and taken care of. So, but he's very busy with 14. It's very much like we just had a recent expansion which rivals most Final Fantasy games.
Yeah, no, that's
Full stop.
That's high praise, and she's right.
So he's busy doing the good that 14 is. So everybody was like, Yoshi P, are you on 16? And he's like, I'm not on 16. He is on 16.
He says, Yoshi
that's
P.
what he's doing right now. The team who did, I think it was Heaven's Word specifically,
Yeah.
is working on 16, which is because everything they touch right now turns
For the
to
record,
gold.
it's
so
the same team that did, what were the Final Fantasy games? They did 11, they did 14, and they did both Dragon Quest Builders 1 and 2.
yeah, which were
and now they're
Dragon
doing
Quest Builders is a
Final Fantasy
delight.
16.
So I'm very excited because Nomura tends to be a hit or miss for what he does.
Nomura
but
really likes friendship a lot.
Nomura's a dingus, but Yoshi P has it on lock, and so I'm really excited to see what. I'm stoked.
When we were watching this trailer, which was a gorgeous trailer,
It's lovely.
it was lovely trailer, and I wasn't sure what I was watching at first.
Right.
It took me a
Yes.
second. I'm going, okay, is this going to be like Demon Souls or something like
This
that?
is Dragon's
It-
Dogma. Yeah.
Yeah,
It looks
and then-
like it.
And then I'm looking at it, and all of a sudden that music hits, and I'm like, oh no, they didn't. And then I said, is this Final Fantasy 16? And Steven said, what if it's a remake of Final Fantasy 6?
I wish. Oh, don't play with my heart
Right?
like that.
So could you imagine if they
Yes.
made Final Fantasy 6, which
I
had
could.
such a stunningly beautiful story?
I would get to see all my friends again. I would get to see Sabin
So-
and Edgar and Setzer.
I was actually ever since he played it, I was like, I would love to see this.
He doesn't know, does he? Recently, I've been marathoning. You know that I've been marathoning the Final Fantasy series. Last we spoke, I think I mentioned that.
Yeah.
But I've been marathoning the Final Fantasy series because quarantine has been lasting for 7 years.
Yeah.
We're
So
still
why
here.
not do it? So I started with 1 and I played that and it was great. And I played all of them. I'm up to 12 now, and because I've already played 13 and 15,
Wait,
I've
including
now
like
played,
Crystal Chronicles and
I'm not going to play Crystal
okay,
Chronicles.
just
Especially
proper
not the remake.
proper numbered and offshoots.
Just the main series.
Did you
And
do
I'm not
10
even
too?
going to do the sequels to the main series
Okay.
games
You did
until
that.
maybe after I'm finished.
So no Lightning Returns.
I've already done. I'm not touching 13 again.
He actually showed me those games 2 years ago.
I already
so
did. I love
we skipped
13,
it.
and I'm never playing them again. No, but I finally got to 6, and when I got through 6, Tori's was kind of like paying attention to my playthroughs, maybe a little bit. I decided, I told her about my playthrough of 1 in the very bare bones story, but still enjoyable story that it had. I told her what 2 was about, since neither one of us had ever touched it before. I told her about 3 and how I abandoned the DS version after an hour and watched a YouTube long play of it. I decided not to tell her about 4 because
I
4
do
is...
want to play 4.
4 is a special game to me, and I want her to play it in all of its goodness.
Okay.
5 was very good, and I gave her the highlights. But 6, I played over like, you can't see it, but it's like 5 feet in that direction. I played on my desk over there, and I narrated the entire thing with character voices and everything, including Kefka. It was wonderful. I loved it. And so Final Fantasy VI
Very
now has a
special
very
now.
special place in our heart
Yeah, it's
because
good.
I got to act all of it for my wife. And I would
Old style
love-
radio theater meets Japanese RPG.
Also, Dancing Man specifically, I think he showed me before playing it,
Right.
and that specifically was like, all right, I have to know. And
Yeah.
so, obviously, after going through it, I was like, this deserves. I want to see Kefka bearing down on us and my doom impending.
all of his unholiness.
And I
And
think
Kefka
so
is a great villain.
I love
Excellent.
Kefka. He's so well executed.
excellent. He's so good. And
Over the
he-
top in all the right ways.
Yes. Final Fantasy 14.
Kefka could kick Sephiroth's butt any day, and I will die on that
Agreed.
hill.
Final Fantasy 14 actually has a section of bosses.
Lots
that
of people
are
could
6.
kick Sephiroth, but
Fair enough. But you get to fight the Phantom Train, the painting.
Oh yeah, you're talking about 14.
The what's the third one?
The Phantom Train, the painting, and oh shoot, what is it called? It is essentially a boss that you fight in front of Kefka's floating continent.
Okay.
And it is a copy boss.
say,
That, like, does...
the Phantom Train and the painting so far sound like Zelda DS games.
They do, don't they?
True.
But no, the Phantom Train you get to fight, which is an actual. You played 6, right?
Yeah.
Okay, of course. All right.
So
I'm sorry. I wanted to make sure. I know we're doing some of this for the sake of the listeners, but
Yes.
whew, you had my head
Anyway,
spinning there for a minute. I'm like, surely.
And then you fight Kefka, and there are 2 versions of this fight. There's a normal version
Well, you fight
and
the
a
Warring
much
Triad first.
harder version.
Oh no, you're talking about the 14. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Please don't listen to me. I know nothing.
So I get to see Kefka and all his
Sorry, over here.
chaotic nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another version of it where it's even harder, and he's like God Kefka, his second phase and everything, and I haven't done that yet.
This isn't even his final form.
Right. So that was really cool that we got to see it in that HD version, but it deserves a 7 remake.
It wasn't even voiced.
So it wasn't voiced, which was a real shame. But,
and if you don't know what Kefka is, for those guys, if you've never seen or played Final Fantasy 7, first off, or 6, it's hard to imagine because you're talking small little pixels in the game. But I want you to imagine in the original art, every single
Amano's art,
Joker, every single version of the Joker smashed into one.
Mm-hmm.
It's straight on Heath Ledger, Cesar Romero, Jack Nicholson, Jared Leto. I mean, just all of them just smushed together over the top.
Mark Hamill, easily.
Yeah,
also,
all showmanship. I mean, such a drama queen.
He's lovely. I love it. He's
Listen,
my favorite.
either Mark Hamill should voice Kefka or I should voice Kefka, and there's no alternatives.
Right,
I won't have it in either way.
Right. So I definitely think that 6 should get a remake.
Okay.
An HD version.
Well, for everybody who's listening, let us know online what you think should get an HD remake. Something from your childhood, something that you remember. If it's something common or even a deep cut, let us know. You can hit us up on Twitter at Nerd of Godcast, or let us know on our Facebook small group, Nerd of God Squad. Well, before we get out of here tonight, I know we've got so many more stories, and I could sit here and seriously talk to you guys all night.
We could cut this episode up. And
right.
It's a 2-part, a very special mini-series. Something I feel like I ask you guys every time we have a conversation, and I don't think we've ever really talked like this in this capacity before. When we talk on the phone, I call Tori, but I know I'm talking to Tori and Ben. What should I be playing right now that I'm not playing?
Did you start Dragon Quest XI yet?
No.
Oh my gosh, Tony, you gotta.
Calm down. So last time we talked, I really wanted to play an RPG.
Yes.
And I was kind of tossed between a couple different ones, and you guys really pushed Final Fantasy VII Remake, which I'm in the middle of right now. Not because it's anything that's groundbreaking in the way of story, because it's all kind of more or less familiar territory. But
familiar is a good word for that.
I mean, they're taking a game and stretching it over like 4 games.
They sure are.
I know there's a lot that they're going to have to add to it, and I'm prepared for that. But it is familiar characters, familiar music. Sometimes I feel like the music is a little too familiar. Like they're just kind of, it's like I'm playing a game, but they're just playing the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack in the background for some reason. It's like it doesn't seem to match with the scenes as much as the original one did. It's like, oh, okay. But that being said, you guys recommended it for no other reason but just the amazing motion capture.
Yes.
And it is. And it's so apparent at how lovingly they crafted these characters that anytime you're talking to an NPC, it's like the meeting of the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 3. It's like, oh, you NPCs, you were designed to only be seen once.
They pulled those NPCs straight from Final Fantasy 13, and if you've never seen, oh my gosh,
except for
the boy,
the materia boy. Also, I highly recommend you do your materia quest from the kid. What is his name? I don't know. It's like
Nerdly or something like that.
Yeah, he's got this weird little nerd name.
Chaunsley or
something like that.
Fair enough.
That's where you get all your good materia, like
Chaunsley Nerdly, the materia.
Yeah,
boy.
Chaunsley Nerdly.
Yeah, he's my little buddy.
That's where you get your summons, right?
Shh. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Wait, there's summons in this game?
Maybe.
I'm sure there are. Because if you have a Final Fantasy game without a Shiva or a Bahamut, are you even playing a Final Fantasy game?
Exactly.
So
That's what I'm saying.
Dragon
And that's
Warrior
why
11
isn't a Final Fantasy. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Okay.
Dragon Warrior is why is it all these classic video games, the second edition of them are the ones that don't count? It's like we're deriving from the formula so much. We're getting off as Super Mario Brothers 2, Legend of Zelda 2.
Right.
I think it's because sometimes I force my wife to sit through what I like to call my whiteboards, in which I have a tiny little whiteboard that's like about the size of your screen, and whoever's watching, it's your screen. That's how big my whiteboard is.
Yes.
And I will draw like diagrams, and I'll draw like text, and I'll draw like I look like a madman over there for like 2 minutes
With the
and then
red string.
Yeah, and then I turn to my wife and I'm like, "All right, hear me out." And then I gave her a 10-minute pitch and then a 20-minute tirade about whatever I just wrote. But I actually have a theory on like how every game most series can fit into like they have a pilot episode, you know, their first soiree. They have a pilot, they have a perfection, and not every game has gotten to this far, and then they have a twist. So like Zelda, for example, I would say that they hit the pilot already with Zelda 1. They knew what they wanted to do. And then once you hit that pilot, according to this theory, then you work on finding your perfection. And I don't think Zelda hit that until Link to the Past. I think that Zelda 2 was such an odd egg because they were still kind of feeling around in the dark and to see what was good, what worked, what didn't. And then they sent out Zelda 2. And I think it's really easy after a sequel to go, well, they didn't like that. They liked the first one. And then to go back to the first one, and then the third one just really hits really, really well because of it. So that's why. That's my theory, is that sometimes 2s don't go over so well.
I would disagree with you and say that they didn't hit perfection until Ocarina of Time.
That was the twist. And then the twist becomes a new pilot.
Interesting.
He has a whole...
I haven't seen the whiteboard. Tori's looking at me like, that's good. Just agree. It makes it go away faster. So
what? I'm going to make my own podcast.
Okay. Now I'm going to call you guys out. Because for 2 episodes, you guys played some classic games and talked about them on your own YouTube channel.
For 2 whole episodes, yes.
For 2 whole episodes. Yes. I loved them. It was one of my favorite things to watch. And then that went away.
Did you say that?
No, I didn't. I liked them so much that I added them to a playlist on the Nerd of Godcast page so that other people could enjoy them too. Because I favored them so much.
We don't do
I'd make more, but I don't have an excuse. So
usually not.
There was a game that broke me. It was Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
Yeah.
I was making my Halloween episode, and I played through Super Ghouls and Ghosts, or I should say, I cried through Super Ghouls and Ghosts. that was it. And then I gave
Super
up.
Ghouls and Ghosts was the Sega Genesis one, correct?
No, that was the Super Nintendo version of Ghosts and Goblins.
I was not No, I think that was Super Ghosts. Ghouls and Ghosts was the Genesis one. Regardless, the
I don't
Super
have
Nintendo
Wikipedia
version.
up right now. I'm not gonna.
I believe you. I'm not gonna take that challenge with you. I'll be wrong.
I can get my whiteboard if you want.
No.
Okay, so and that's what made you give it up, right?
Yeah, it was. I just kind of, I had written the video script halfway through, and then I went to play more of it to try and beat it for the rest of the script. Gotcha. And I got to the end, and then they made me do the whole game again, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, and that's
I don't have the fortitude for this.
So it was Ghouls and Ghosts was for the Sega Genesis, Super Ghouls and Ghosts was for the Super Nintendo, because you couldn't be a Super Nintendo game in that first wave of games if you didn't have the word Super in your title somewhere. So
it's the rules.
Even the Nintendo Switch, here's some old great Nintendo and Super. They have the SP versions, which basically kind of start you out with a bonus, like you'll have all the weapons or full health or whatever the case might be. So it's kind of like we're going to fast forward you. We're going to give you a leg up. In the Ghosts and Goblins one, they start you with like full health and a nice weapon on the last level, ready to beat.
Oh, good.
And then you beat them, and it's like, psych, back to the beginning.
Then they send you back to the beginning, yeah.
Just kidding.
The thing is that developers did to make you keep playing.
Yeah.
Somebody at Capcom said, you know what? Let's just make them play the whole game again. It's a great idea.
Hey, here's a good one. Thank you, Mario, but our princess is in another castle.
Right, exactly.
So why should I be playing Dragon Warrior 11?
So Dragon Quest 11.
Oh, excuse me. I'm from a day where it was Dragon Warrior.
I know where you're from.
Dragon Quest 11, and I said this. I guess it's been probably about a month or so. Finish 7R first,
Okay.
For good reasons.
Yeah.
Because I'd love to talk about that.
Okay.
Not only the rest of the game,
Next episode, we're talking Final Fantasy VII.
but also like what happens after the game is stuff I want to talk about.
Right.
And then the third part is why Tetsuya Nomura is a jerk, and I hate him, but also love him. Anyway, Dragon Quest XI is one of the best modern JRPGs. Full stop. It takes just speaking on the Dragon Quest series alone, you never have to play another Dragon Quest game. Even if you're a fan of it, and if you've never played Dragon Quest before, Dragon Quest XI is the only Dragon Quest you need to play.
Okay.
It encompasses what the entire series is all about, and its story is far better than any of the others. The gameplay is far better than any of the others. Recently, I've realized that turn-based gaming is actually kind of bad, and I'm glad that I'm saying this at the end so that we don't have to talk about it. But Dragon Quest XI fixes a lot of that the turn-based problems by letting you just kind of skip it. You can just speed your game up like 4 times in the battles, but it still makes you like do all the prep work. You still have to gain the experience. You have to gain the levels.
Sure.
And also it allows you to see the enemies on the overworld, and you can avoid them if you don't want to fight them. It gets rid of random encounters, which were not a great idea post 2000. I hold this game story-wise, character-wise, gameplay-wise with this almost the same regard. Very, very close. They would belong on the shelf right next to each other. And I said this last month, but I'm going to say this on air for everybody else. This game belongs next to Chrono Trigger.
Just high. That's a big
statement.
That's saying a lot.
Chrono Trigger is the game I would save from the video game fire. That
Chrono Trigger is turn-based RPG perfection.
It is.
It has the finest nuance of the best Final Fantasy or Ultima type game, but it has a story that's not ridiculous and drenched in convolution like, I don't know, every Final Fantasy game.
And belts.
Well, that was Nomura.
18 belts.
That's the next.
If we can be honest, every single Final Fantasy game, as beautiful as they are, has a ridiculous story.
Yeah, agreed.
The only one I don't think is ridiculous is 5. But everything else, yes.
Okay, I can allow that.
What?
5 is X-Death, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
X-Death is an evil tree, so okay, all right.
He's an evil tree, like.
And I want to like some of them. It's like, oh, this is perfect. Except, okay, how about Cloud? But Cloud's not really Cloud. That you're really thinking of Zack. Wait, what?
Right.
Okay, well, what about this one? You're going to save your people and bring them back to Xanarkand. Psych, you're really a dream and your dad's a whale. Wait, what?
I get that reference now.
Yeah. Oh, I should.
I finished
spoiler alert. Sorry.
I finished that one 2 weeks ago. I did that one.
It's a gorgeous game though, right? Like even though the story
is a beautiful game.
It is
a beautiful game.
That moment at the end of that game when they're standing on the deck of the Highwind and Yuna is there and Tidus comes behind her and just wraps her arm around her and falls through her. That wrecks me every time.
Oh, no.
Every dang time, dude.
Oh,
Every
no.
dang time. And then the last thing, and she's just out there on the pier whistling. And it's like, shut up, I'm dead, I'm done. I'm
Shut up.
I'm done. That's just you put these characters, these beautiful characters, in this stupid game and made me fall in love with them. What are you? It's like
play Blitzball.
and
play Blitzball.
Blitzball is unforgivable.
So I played 10.
In a world where triple triad is a thing, we should never have to play Blitzball.
Oh my gosh! Why would you do that to me?
Why?
And not only triple. I don't just have a problem with Blitzball. I also want to call out Tetra whatever from 9 garbage. I'm so mad. Just give me more triple triad.
Just give me triple triad. Triple triad is so good. Triple triad and switching over to if you ever played The Witcher, Gwent. Gwent is a great in-game game.
And wait, The Witcher 3 is that game that came with Gwent, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the arcade games from Final Fantasy 15.
Right.
It took me so long to figure out what the crap I was doing in them, but by the time I figured it out, I was just like, well, I think I'm just the sun just came up. What? Okay, I'm playing this now, I guess. The world is ending.
Real life.
Yes, exactly. The world is ending outside, but you know what? But first, it's arcade time.
First I have to do Chunky
And these
Race.
fish aren't going to catch themselves.
These fish are gonna catch. He's the Fisher King. What do you expect? He's got a fish.
King.
Oh my goodness. So Tori, do you have a game besides Dragon Warrior, Dragon Quest XI that I should be playing right now that I'm not?
Did you ever play Hollow Knight?
Yeah, love Hollow Knight.
Okay.
Hollow Knight's beautiful.
It's usually my go-to.
Hollow Knight's great. That was the first game I bought for my Switch on your recommendation.
Yes, that's right. Okay,
I bought Hollow Knight and I bought Sonic Mania.
Sonic Mania was also really good.
Very, very good.
It's the best. I can't believe they only ever made 4 Sonic games. After 20 years, they finally made another Sonic.
Made another one. Did you played
Actually, Sonic Adventure wasn't horrible.
You played Ori and the Blind Forest?
We have an odd relationship with Ori.
Attempted. So you showed Ori to me
in
your kitchen.
Yes,
your
I did.
Dining room. Many years ago. No, it wasn't that many years ago.
It was many years ago. It was like 5 years ago.
It's probably 5 or 6
I was
now.
like, all right, I have to play this game. So I came home and I bought it and I tried to play it. And I was either so unaccustomed to Metroidvania side-scrolling platforming stuff that it defeated me within an hour.
Wow.
Or it wasn't good. It's probably the former. It's probably,
good. It doesn't hold your hand.
No, it doesn't.
But I think Hollow Knight doesn't really hold your hand either.
No.
But that's the draw. It not only doesn't hold your hand, it also punches you in the face.
Hollow Knight kicked my butt, and I loved it for it. I have yet to go back and give.
And you said,
Ori,
"Thank you. Can I have another?"
And I said, "Yes, I did."
May I have another?
I have yet to go back and give Ori a chance now that I've played more games and am more experienced in general. I'm thinking I might do that for the Switch because I enjoy the Switch. So
if we get new Joy-Cons,
if I get new Joy-Cons, then I will purchase and play Ori and the Blind Forest because the visuals are just undeniably gorgeous.
It is a beautiful game. It's like a Thomas Kincaid screensaver.
Yes. Yeah. So I have to. It's always been like on a special. Like, all right, at some point I'm going to play it again and hopefully like it. So, and I still haven't played the game you recommended to me months ago.
Gris.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
I wanted to play that even back before it was out. I saw the trailer and I was like, I have to play this game.
And one thing I love about Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 2, I don't have an Xbox that's up to date, but I love that they put so many of these great independent games on sale so frequently because you can get them for a steal. There's a game that I got and it's just called Kings and Queens, and it's the dumbest game. It's so dumb. It's got such a simple mechanic, and I will play it for hours straight. And all it is a card game where you flip a card and you're the king and it gives you a choice. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And then you just choose, I'll do this or I'll do this. And then based on what you do, either the church or the people or your country's finances or the army will kind of go up and go down, and you got to keep everything in balance for as long as you possibly can.
That's cool.
But it's very self-aware and very fun and funny, and you can play as a king or a queen, as the game's title would imply. But it's just a game of choices, and it's fun to watch things spin horribly out of control in your kingdom. I don't know why. I think I paid $1.99 for it, and I feel like I've got
just like my College West Civ class.
Yeah, right.
But this is supposed to be you recommending him again.
I haven't.
I'm bailing her out, Ben. I don't feel like she's got anything in the tank.
I don't have anything. I'm ashamed to say that I've pretty much exclusively played Final Fantasy XIV or Animal Crossing over the past year.
Okay.
14 has consumed.
Consumed is a good word for it.
Consumed is a good word. It's pretty much all I do in my free time. And I've been hoping for other games. I've been playing Metroid Prime, which you've already played, so I don't have to recommend that to you. Or Animal Crossing. So I've been trying to not only play 14. So maybe instead you could recommend games to me.
Yeah, so if you're watching this or listening to this, then you can tell Tori what she needs to be playing. You can hit her up on Twitter at Mochimori Studio, Mochimori Studio, and tell her you ought to be playing thus. So we're really just about out of time. I just looked up. We've been talking for 2 hours now, which is
nice.
For this nice little 40-minute conversation we're about to have.
Right.
So if I can tear us away from this, we're going to wrap this thing up tonight, and we'll do it in a way that I like to do with friends and guests with 5 quick questions. All right. So here's our 5 questions tonight. If they were making a video game of your life, what genre would it be?
A Metroidvania, easily, because at least the current chapter of my life, definitely, because I am all about looking at stuff, realizing I don't have the skills to get there, going back and getting the skills to get there, but then I have to backtrack all the way to that first spot. But I do it, and then I forget, that I'm supposed to be doing that, and I get sidetracked along the way and explore another tunnel. So
I feel like that every time I try to go into the store and get halfway from my car and I go, crap, I didn't wear my mask. And I got to turn around and go back. Do that walk of shame, and everybody knows why you've stopped and you're turning around. They go,
that's also a great way to date this little conversation here.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Brought to you in 2020.
I have been obviously at home a lot more, so I've been learning how to like take care of my house better.
Okay.
And, like actually cook food and actually do things around the house. So mine has turned into sort of like a crafting and gathering. Not quite
survival craft.
Yeah, not quite as pleasant and pretty as Animal Crossing, but maybe not as nitty gritty as
The Sims.
The Sims or what's the it's not Harvest Moon.
Stardew?
Yeah, Stardew Valley.
Okay.
But definitely lots of gathering and crafting and learning recipes and how do I paint the living room and how do I replace a sink and that sort of thing. So
nice.
Lots of that.
Okay. Question number 2. Besides the Bible, what's your favorite book? Besides the Bible or The Purpose-Driven Life, what's your favorite book?
I'm going to go first this time.
Okay, go ahead.
My favorite book is The Wizard of Earthsea.
Okay.
Which is I think it's niche. I don't actually know if it is or not, but it was the only like fantasy story I read like as a younger person that nobody told me about. I found it myself and I read it and then I liked it. It wasn't like, well, you have to read Lord of the Rings, or you have to read Harry Potter or Narnia. It was one that my pastor actually handed it to me. He was cleaning out the library and he's like, here you go. And I was like, okay, well, pastor handed it to me, so I know it's okay to read. And it's a high fantasy story, but it's very much, it's stuck with me for many, many years. I love it very, very much. It's good. Highly recommend. Short.
Cool.
Good read.
Ben, what's your favorite book?
How to Win Friends and Influence People? No, I'm just kidding.
Stop. What is it?
I don't read a whole lot of books, actually. I like book reading. I like reading. I don't have any problem with it. I'm not one of those weird guys who are like, no, book reading is dumb. I just don't read a whole lot of books. But one that stuck with me is Aragon. It's the Aragon series by Chris Paolini. It's not a particularly good series.
If you don't feel like reading it, just watch the movie. It's totally the same
don't watch the movie either. Just kind of ruminate on it.
Just think about it.
Just think about, ponder it. But like I said, it was written by Chris Paolini when he was 15, and I read it when I was 15, and so that was a huge deal for me to know that like I could do something like this.
Nice.
And so even though like the books might not hold up to the test of time a whole lot, they definitely are a source of inspiration for me.
Nice.
Plus, I mean, it's a high fantasy story about a chosen one who gets the dragon. So
yeah. Okay. Next question of our 5 questions: if you could have an unlimited supply of one household item, what would it be?
Oh gosh.
Gotta be something in the house, so it can't be like gas for your car or something like that. Not money in the bank.
Ooh. Either light bulbs or bed sheets.
You never know about bed sheets. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say either.
I feel like there's a story behind both of those, but we don't have time tonight for that.
I'd say either.
Well,
Coke Zero.
Ben poops the bed a lot, so
That's not it, actually. Surprisingly enough, that's not it.
Surprisingly.
surprisingly, I'm
I'd love to have
continents, but
this time that's not the
but
problem.
this time not actually the problem.
I'd love to have an infinite supply of either Coke Zero so I can stop going to the store every week to buy more. Or, I didn't want to say it because I didn't know if it was crass to say on the air, but toilet paper.
It's not crass.
And I feel like I don't have to explain that one.
No.
you don't.
Everybody poops, Benjamin.
But like, I mean, that's true. There's a whole book about it and everything.
Yeah. And listen,
That's my favorite book. That's my favorite book. Everybody
again, dating this show. It was not that many months ago that here in America, you could not get toilet paper.
Tori and I actually Tori and I were going to go to Japan earlier this year, and we're very sour about not being able to go. However, the one good thing that came out of it is Tokyo, unfortunately, got hit first with the waves of coronavirus.
Sure.
And because we had our ear to the ground, or to the sky, I guess, about the situation in Tokyo, which is where we were going to go.
Right.
We knew pretty much like a week before everybody else
It was about 2 weeks before
that lockdown was imminent.
something was going to happen.
Right.
And so we got toilet paper before everybody else, and we didn't run out until after toilet paper was restocked. So
Oh my goodness.
we sat
That was
pretty.
fortunate,
That's funny.
but yeah,
Well, we don't know what we got till it's gone, right?
true.
If you could have coffee with one creative person, living or dead, who would it be?
Oh, Yoshitaka Amano, for sure. For sure, for sure.
Now, for the uninitiated, who is
He's-
Yoshitaka Amano? She's giving us the finger of delay.
Show Therion. Do it.
There you go. So for those listening in an audio format, if this is released in audio format, we've just held up an art book of Yoshitaka Amano, who is the concept artist for the Final Fantasy games.
I think that his deviation from the classic sort of style is very inspirational, and I like it a lot. So
Yeah, he doesn't draw in the traditional like anime style. He draws like in the this should be hanging on a scroll in a temple style.
yeah,
Very dreamlike.
it's my
Yeah.
favorite. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, wispy and
Wispy
yeah,
is
very,
a
very
good-
much so.
yeah.
Yeah,
Ethereal.
yeah, very nice. And it's
He
so
also
cool.
drew Kefka, which is pretty great.
And it's obvious when you see the drawings, his drawings of those Final Fantasy characters. You know who it is that he's drawing,
Yes.
even though they're completely dissimilar from.
don't
Yeah,
look the
no.
same, but they do.
But you know
also.
who they are.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous. Yeah, it's like hearing a classic like rock metal song, but played by a string quartet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Uh,
So yeah, definitely Amano for sure.
Who you having coffee with, Ben?
As with everything, I'm torn. Either Yasunori Mitsuda, which is a mouthful, I know, but he is the composer for Chrono Trigger,
Yeah,
and
Good stuff.
he was.
that Chrono Trigger soundtrack is without question a hot knife through butter when it
It
comes
is
to video game
impeccable.
music. It is just gorgeous.
Have you heard the story of like how the soundtrack happened?
No, would you tell me?
So I would love to.
He would love
so,
to.
Yasunori
Is this a long
Mitsuda-
story or a short story?
No, it's a pretty short story. He's a
Okay.
hero of mine. So he was a kid. He was like 18, 19, 20. He was definitely a young guy. And he was working for Square, and they had him doing sound design. And he didn't want to do that. He wanted to be a composer. But Square was like, no, you can do blips and bloops and monster groans. And he goes, no, I don't want to do that. I want to do. So he marches up to the boss's office, the head of
Mr. Enix himself.
Square at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mr. Square.
He marches up to Mr. Square and he says, Mr. Square, if you don't let me compose, I'm leaving. And Mr. Square says, fine, but it better be good. Yasunori Mitsuda then went on to compose arguably the greatest soundtrack of all time for a video
Yes.
game. And he composed so very well, and he put all of himself into it, his heart, his soul, his sweat, his blood, his tears. He made himself sick, and he ended up
Yeah.
going to the hospital, and legendary composer Nobuo Uematsu himself had to come fill in for Mitsuda. And then Mitsuda went on to like make music for the Inazuma 11 series, which is a soccer game that's also an anime. And he did a few other things.
He did the music to Chrono Cross as well.
He did.
The soundtrack to Chrono Cross,
Also
I would
stellar.
almost say, may be better than the soundtrack to Chrono Trigger musically, especially when you consider how much worse Chrono Cross that was than Chrono Trigger as a game.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Right. right.
no.
It's
definitely-
worth owning Chrono Cross
for the soundtrack.
just for the soundtrack.
I agree. Either Mitsuda or the late Satoru Iwata, former president of
Of
Nintendo.
Nintendo, yeah. Very cool. And then finally, just because, by golly, we have to have something spiritual here. Do you have a favorite scripture verse? And if
I
so,
do.
what is it? What is it?
I really like Proverbs 4:23. Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. That was a big deal for me as a young person, as a teenager, having to like just kind of watch everything all the time, keep a close eye on the stuff that happened on the inside. And it was this verse that sort of shaped how I met and then later married Ben. So it was a big, pivotal part of my
Nice. Benjamin?
I have had lots of different favorite verses throughout my life. Right now, my current favorite passage, and one that is echoed in times that I want it to be echoed and in times that I don't necessarily want to hear it, as it is always wont to do, is Matthew 6, verses 26 and 27. 6:26 says, "Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they?" And then 27 is the one that often shows up when I don't want it to. "Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life?"
Yeah.
And I often hear this when I'm like wishing I had a better job or wishing that maybe I should have used my degree 3 years ago. And that's the one that both convicts me and also keeps me strengthened.
Awesome. Well, for those that have made it 2 hours into our conversation, have not been repulsed by our strong and sometimes unflinching stances upon different video game properties, you have gotten a spiritual nugget for you to move on with your day. Hopefully it is a soothing balm in a trying time. Well, Tori, Ben, the Joneses, thank you so much for being with us, for being with me tonight and talking to me, keeping me company, and talking
Always
video
a
games,
pleasure.
which I love. If people want to find out more about you or your art or your game design or your ridiculously stilted opinions on video games or even your YouTube walkthroughs, what's a place that you can send them to find out more about your life and your ministry?
So I am not active on any social media because I just forget to check it. However, my Twitter, I'm gonna turn notifications back on my Twitter. So Mochimori Studio's Twitter is definitely something to watch for any upcoming projects and anything remotely related, creativity or otherwise. You can ask me questions. You can tell me how wrong I am that Twilight Princess is the best Zelda game, etc., etc. So. And
don't forget, God help us if the corona doesn't get us first. Tori, well, hopefully you're still planning on being with us next year, 2021, at the MegaCon in Orlando.
Mm-hmm. I will be there. So you
rock
can
and
come
roll.
and buy my silly doodles.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Stuff.
She's an amazing artist. Amazing artist. She makes Pokemon come to life on the page.
No.
Indeed.
That's very sweet.
Benjamin, where can people find out about your mojo?
So, listener, you know how you kind of use social media and you kind of lurk around and you don't post a whole lot? You post sometimes, but you probably have 5 followers or something like that, and you mostly laugh at what other people post. I also do that. That's me. But if you wanted to do that together and lurk around on the internet and then also never talk to each other, you can probably find me on Twitter at Vulpine Captain, VULPINE, and then Captain, like a pirate. Yeah.
Vulpine Captain, is that like a Star Fox reference? I mean, it feels like...
It is not, although that's not the
good.
first time that somebody's asked about that. Although, it is probably only the second or third, which it's kind of weird that it's happened more than once.
Yeah.
No, it was just because I like foxes, and my old internet handle used to be Captain, so...
Yeah.
Captain 1986, actually, and I was born in 93, which led to a lot of confusion.
Yeah, I still don't know what the 86 is for.
It was just a random number.
There you go. There you go. Back in the day, random numbers were fine.
True.
At least it wasn't like X Foxman X underscore.
Yeah.
And every letter
She-Hulk.
went back and forth from caps to lowercase, caps to lowercase. That's where we used to live. Anyway, and you can follow us all across the social medias at Nerd of Godcast, or hang out with us on our small group on Facebook. That's the Nerd of God Squad. Send us a request, and we're going to let you in because we're a pretty indiscriminate group. It's the Nerd of God Squad on Facebook. Share some memes and live your dreams. Tori and Ben, the Joneses, thank you so much for joining us. Please keep Jersey safe, stay positive, and test negative. Love you guys.
Amen.
Hey, all right.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. I'm taking that.
It's all yours, my friend. Good night, everybody.
Good
Good night.
night. Love you.